Okay, give me 1 sec. One second. All right. I don't know how long. I don't know how long I'm gonna go here tonight because I'm pretty tired. But we're gonna do some stuff. All right. The first stuff. This part of my hair that's sticking up is driving me nuts. Yeah. What's up, Mistral? Um. First stuff I just want to talk about is like what we released last week, and then what we got coming up this week, and then some analytics stuff. So yeah, our news story from last week was about Wyglaff. He's a dragon knight from A Soldier's Crest, the book, not the original one we've been reading on stream for fun. He wasn't even in the original, but he it's funny. Like I didn't realize this until after I posted them, but the Wyglaff story has the word invincible in it, and then we did the word scroll re-release for Kazai right after that also has the word invincible in it. I think if I would have noticed that ahead of time, I would not have done it. But yeah. You thought that video was interesting? Yeah, it's so like the way the actual Soldier's Crest book is structured, there's 10 Dragon Knights that the story kind of focuses on. Like Valak's still the main character, but the 10 Dragon Knights are like major characters throughout the entire book. So even though like Valak's the main character, they are also like very, very involved and relevant to the story. So I thought it would be interesting to just do little like they're basically like one shots involving them. Um, I just figured throwing them up on Fantasy Distractions, some more info about them would be interesting and cool that we didn't get to like really flesh out in the books because the books have to cram in so much that it's hard to really like flesh them out. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like it's so hard to fit everything into the books. So when I got published, my publisher actually um I was writing an ebook that was like a prequel that fleshed out the Dragon Knights a little bit more. And they were like, "Oh, why don't you just release it as a book?" And I wasn't gonna say no to that. So I actually have physical copies of a prequel story involving the Dragon Knights before the events of the first book that we ended up releasing in the meantime while my book was still coming out. So maybe we'll read that story on stream. I don't think that's still on Amazon. Um, who was the other one with Synthra? That was Rayo. Yeah, he my I think my niece is running around upstairs, so if you hear any like banging, it's just her. Um, Rayo, I don't even think he's mentioned in the first book at all. Because the whole point is that like a lot of the stories about Rayo are now the stories people are telling about Synthro. Like they just replaced him with Synthro. So I don't think he's even mentioned in the first book. He's mentioned in the second book. I mean, what we could do if we really wanted to, I mean, I don't know how interested people would be in that. Um, we could read a lot of the stuff I didn't release on stream too. Rayo, I guess I thought he was gonna be the main, but Valak is the main character. Yeah, similar to how he is in the OG. He was like one of the only characters from the OG that stayed. But the first book does focus on Valak. Like the first three books are meant to focus on Valak. Um, but like we do bounce around a lot. I can always read some of the first book on stream. Don't want to wear your voice, but yeah, read what you want. I have the I bought the honey not the sticks like Kitty suggested. I just got they're basically cough drops, but they're just to like soothe your voice and your throat. So I did buy those in case we need them tonight, but I don't know if I'm even gonna make it that long tonight. I just want to finish. I definitely want to finish the Mira side story tonight. So that's my plan. I think we had like 37 pages left. It sounds like a lot, but we kind of cruised through it last week. So we read 83 last week, so I think we could do 37 this week. But yeah, so me yeah, so Mira's in the first book, but it's funny, like Mira I created Mira for the first book and she quickly became like one of my favorite characters, but she literally only appears in like 3 chapters, I think. 2 or 3 chapters. And then you don't hear from her again until the second book. And I liked her so much, I was like, I gotta start writing more stories with her in it because she's so much fun. And Rapez, yeah, Rapez is he's interesting. His story kind of gets a little weird. He does show up in the first book. Um, he's more involved in the second book too. He's a trip. I like that he calls it how he sees it. Yeah, his personality doesn't really change, but he goes through some pretty crazy stuff. Uh, that I never really got to do in the books, but ironically, that I released the Wygolaf story last week. Him and Wygolaf actually, the camera tracked me with my hand up. Hello. Yeah. Okay. Him and Wygolaf actually are connected. Was there a description for him? I can't remember. I have a bad memory for Rapez. He's just really tall, like muscular, and he's got blue hair. I think that was like all I really talked about with him. He's writing. He's writing. I actually have a picture of him that I got made for this prequel. I mean, for this ebook. Do I have it on this computer? I should. Let me see. I got little things made for this that never really saw the light of day. I don't think. I could show you. Hold on, let me find them. Let me see if I have them. I have a ton of art of Mira. I could show you some of that too. Let me I don't think there's any like spoilers or anything here. I just want to make sure these images I'm thinking of are in here though. Hold on. Okay, I found them. I couldn't find them. I found them though. I have a lot of art made of these characters. I could show you guys. Let me do this and then this. I would like to see them interact. Yeah, so they're kind of complete opposites, but they also get along fairly well. It's interesting. They have like this weird bond, Wyglef and Rapez. So yeah, I got this bio made of Mira. This is her as like a little kid, and this is her grown up. What is on here? Unknown, age unknown, height 5'6", occupation pirate, weapons cutlass, 2 golden pistols. Yeah, her art, even though we don't get to it in this story at all, she can redirect energy. So like even though it's post-apocalyptic and they don't really have like the means to make bullets, she could actually fire guns in the first book because she just disperses energy through them instead of bullets. Pretty sure I wrote this. It's kind of spoilery to the stuff we're gonna read tonight, so I'm not gonna read it out loud. And Rapez. Yeah, this isn't exactly how I picture him. I kind of gave the artist like some freedom. But this is the only piece of art I actually have of Rapez. I don't know if his hair would be this detailed or the braid, or he would wear like platform shoes, but this is the only art I have of him made. Nice, he's hot. Yeah, he's got 2, 4, 6, 8. He's got 10 abs. So you like him even more now? Yeah, so if you want a picture, this is what he looks like. No eye patch. At least in this story, no eye patch. What else? I got a whole bunch of art made for these characters. Wow. Like this Brackus one. Hold on, this is the completed version. The like dragonkin that they fight against in the first book. He's like the biggest and like baddest. His name, I'm so proud of this name. His name is Brackus Thunderbone. No pictures of Rayo. I don't even have a picture of Synthro, technically. Not like the newer version of him. The Dawn art is pretty cool. My friend Hugh drew this for me for free like 100 years ago. No. The Brackus one is done by Coinbox Tees. They're the guys who design like everything for me, everything else. They designed the shirts that I've been wearing. A lot of the art I use on stream or used to use on stream. I haven't set that up on the new computer. This is all Coinbox Tees, and then like they have multiple artists that work for them. So if I say Coinbox Tees and the art looks a little different, it could be 2 different artists, but this is my friend Hugh that I used to play Final Fantasy XI with. He drew this for me like very, very early on, but we kept this design, which you could see here. This is Coinbox Tees again. This is a little the Coinbox Tees guy. He draws them a little scantily clad, so I apologize. Gotta get a Rapez. We can make a Rapez emote. I have more stories with him in it that I haven't released that we could read on stream, since you like him. Dessa, who you guys haven't met yet. Hugh did that one. I don't know what that is. Anything that's vaguely described, I'm not gonna click on because I'm not sure what those are. It's fine, but thanks for being considerate. Yeah, I definitely have like the prequel he's in. Book 2 he's in. I can maybe just read some like snippets from book 2, maybe. But if you don't mind spoiler stuff, I have a really funny scene with Mira in book 2, but it needs context for it to be funny. What did you have of him? Of who? Of Rapez? Other than that bio picture, I don't have anything else for him. But if you're talking about like writing, then yeah, I got these. When Marvel's Avengers came out, I was streaming that a lot. I got an Iron Man Mira done, and this one is so awesome. Oh wait, that's the concept art. Hold on. Nope. Where's the finished one? This Captain America Lyco one, bruh. This is like one of my favorite pieces of art I've ever gotten made. So good. Let's see. Bikini line art. This was gonna be our for hitting 500 followers. For hitting 500 followers, this was gonna be the one, but we ended up using a different one. I have these little ones by this girl Penelope I met at New York Comic Con. I got like a hockey jersey. Mira's boobs out, of course. Yeah, a lot of fan service. Mira is really like a fan servicey character and everything else, except this one. This is cool. This was from Zaraneska. She's a Twitch streamer also. She's awesome. I have a Meryl one. I haven't read anything with Meryl in it yet. We have some fantasy distractions coming out with her in it. You'll actually you'll see this art on one of the fantasy distractions coming out in the next couple of weeks. Mira AFK. Oh, I got this like DJ. So I was gonna do this thing where when I go AFK, I just play music, and I was gonna use this. I got so much art made of them that I like never used. This is just Mira DJing for some reason. But this was gonna be part of like if I AFK and I have like Spotify playing, which I can't really do anymore because of DMCA's. I was just gonna have this pop up and then like the music, whatever music is playing. I have so much art of Mira. This is from Hugh. Yeah, the art is awesome. I gotta find a way to use this stuff more. Hugh made this a really long time ago when I first came up with her. It's Iron Man again. Concept art. Mira Joey. Okay, yeah, this is my friend. So my real name is Joe, but my family calls me Joey. And I met this other girl named Joey, who's a cosplayer, and she's also an artist. She did a little portrait of Mira. This is one of my favorite versions of her ever. I got this done at New York Comic Con. One of the like very first commissions I ever got of Mira. This one's really good too. Intro. This is I gotta put this back on this computer. This is my normal AFK screen. Hello. I didn't activate my camera that time. This is our normal AFK screen. I gotta put back on the stream. I keep forgetting. Let's see what else. Do I have the comparison? What's the difference here? I think that's already okay. So, yeah, I know you're talking about the Big Booba, but like, they were bigger than this. I asked him to shrink them. They were bigger than that. I don't know if I have the comparison on here. Not that one. They were bigger than this. I had to get him to shrink them. It's the Mira bio again. Pez bio. Raya. This is the... Yeah, this is what the bikini one almost was. I mean, this is still pretty, it's pretty out there, but... I keep losing followers on Twitch, not gaining followers on Twitch, but if we ever hit 1,000, maybe we'll revisit the bikini idea. Here's one of Valak. Coinbox Tees did this one too. I don't have the... Oh, I showed the Dawn one. I don't have everything on here, because I'm missing... I see the Mira chibi. Oh, this has Mira and like on it, but I have images of this separate. This was Zaraneska also. But, yeah. Definitely missing some of the art on here, but... We, if you guys want me to keep going with the Mira stuff, I didn't finish there's a second ebook that goes with the one we're reading now. I didn't finish it, but I started it, so we can technically read that. Maybe I should finish that on stream. Maybe we just do a bunch of Mira stuff. I was picturing him like an emo for some reason, but it's nice to see him as a knight. Yeah, he's not nearly as emo and edgy in actual Soldier's Crest compared to the OG one we were reading. And the OG one, he's like super anime, edgy, emo. In Soldier's Crest, he's like a little more like cocky, I guess. Not like over the top, but his interactions with Mira are legendary. Okay. So I'm just gonna quick talk about last week's stuff. I mean, we kind of talked about it already. We did the Wygolf stuff. And we we released Lord Kazai technically this week. The Eden one was last week. Coming up on Friday. Friday would be what? The 26th. Oh, okay, we actually have a Meryl story coming out on Friday. So the girl I showed that like has her hand out with the like bubble around her. There's a story about her coming out on Friday. I don't know. I think I used that art for it. So we got a story with Meryl coming out. And yeah, so that'll be it for the rest of this week. We released the Kazai story on Monday. Meryl's coming out on Friday. And then I think it's Eliana on Monday. So that's a re-release with the word scrolling of Eliana. And then we'll talk about that stuff next week. I also wanted to talk about I mentioned losing followers on Twitch. Like, I'm trying so hard to like promote and make this stuff work, but like I am still a net negative on subscribers since the new year started, and it's like driving me nuts. I gotta plug my phone in. Hold on. Since doing the streams, I think we went up like a couple of subscribers because obviously like Mistral subscribed, and I think we gained like 1 or 2 more since then. But but I'm still down like 3 subscribers, and it's tilting me. I have a character named Eliana too. Her name was inspired by Mother. Oh, that's awesome. What's your Eliana like? Mine is a queen. She is definitely not a queen. I could read you the story right now. That's so cool though. So Eliana is like the most beautiful woman on Fenrir, but she doesn't really care about all that. She just wants to go on adventures and stuff. I can read you the story. It's short. The one that's coming out is done by my friend Janine, and it's really, really good. So I would suggest listening to it again when it comes out. But I'll read it to you. So it's told. Here, I'll just read it. Let me pull it up on screen. Let me do this. Janine's reading is way better than whatever I'm about to do. I'm just letting you know that. So, it'll be better when it comes up. All right, here we go. Oh, Eliana, sweet Eliana, what a troubled beauty she is. Oh, pardon me, I did not see you there. Please, please, sit down. Care to hear a story? Great. I was just reminiscing about sweet Eliana, the beauty of Vesuva. Surely you've been to the port. Regardless, everyone with ears has heard the tales of Eliana and her beauty, but in case you haven't, it is I who shall enlighten you. This paragraph, I don't like the way I do this, but it's okay. A few months ago, rumor began to circulate about this woman named, well, you probably figured it out, Eliana. Eliana was unlike any woman to ever set foot in Vesuva before. Tall, skinny, with long, silky, dirty blonde hair and hazel eyes. She drove the men in the port wild. Not that it was hard to do. The port of Vesuva saw all manner of scoundrel and pirates known to this side of Fenrir. Even I would be seen as a prize amongst these men, but Eliana was a cut above the rest. But dear, sweet Eliana, she had more surprises than just her looks. She had traveled far and wide, no doubt capturing every eye that viewed her, but she only searched because she was bored. Can you believe it? A woman who can have anything she wants, bored. Settling down and marrying a rich man was not good enough for her, and a big reason why she found herself in the port of Vesuva. You see, the young lass was desperate for something new, desperate for adventure. Any of those pirates would have taken her on their crew in a heartbeat, but you can't confine such a goddess to the sea. Oh no, her need for adventure had to be satisfied on land, right here on Fenrir. So she walked Vesuva in search of news, tidbits, whatever she could hear. She went to bars and town gatherings. She checked every notice board and flyer in the hopes she would find what she was looking for. Then one day she journeyed out into the forest all on her own. Our sweet little Eliana out in the wild. Could you believe it? After walking through the forest for some time, Eliana came upon a traveler. This traveler had clearly been through some things. She could tell by his dirty clothes and the way he was leaning. Are you all right? She asked. The man went on to tell her that he had lost something very precious to him, and the monsters that stole it brought it to a nearby cave. Clearly, he was in no condition to go retrieve this item himself, and Eliana saw an opportunity for an adventure. She offered to recover this item for him. The man explained that it was a trinket he had received from his mother, ironically a mother connection as well, who had passed just a few months prior to their meeting. The trinket was connected to a silver chain and had a sapphire placed firmly in the center. Eliana set out with her newfound purpose, a potentially very dangerous one for our young beauty, Eliana. But she was not frightened. Whatever was in that cave she knew she could handle. However, when she arrived at the cave, she heard people arguing inside. Other adventurers had beaten her here. She approached the cave slowly and heard the people rummaging through the treasure. But before she could enter the cave, a man spoke out to her from behind. It startled her. You wandered into the wrong parts, the man said to Eliana. I'm just here looking for a friend's trinket. He said he lost it and some monsters took it here, she replied. The man led her into the cave and showed her the monsters. There was a large group of goblins dead on the floor. The leader of these humans was a female pirate, one who you would think would be jealous of Eliana's beauty, but instead she respected it. The two spoke to each other, and the pirate offered Eliana the trinket in question, as long as she didn't tell the authorities that she and her pirates were looting the cave. Eliana agreed and rushed out of the cave quickly to return to the traveler. She was smiling that she succeeded in her mission without much struggle or hardship. When she returned to the post where she found the traveler, she didn't see the traveler anywhere. She held the trinket close to her chest inside. Beautiful Eliana wanted nothing more than to make this person's day. Then she heard someone call out from behind a nearby tree. Over here, they said. Cautiously, Eliana approached the tree. What stepped out from behind it was a tiny goblin. My cloaking spell wore off, the little goblin explained. In that moment, Eliana's heart sank. You see, I'm sure you've noticed by now that the monsters in this tale were not the goblins. Eliana knelt down and returned the trinket to the goblin. She apologized for the behavior of her own people, though an apology from Eliana would never be enough to excuse what had happened to this goblin's friends or family. It didn't matter how beautiful Eliana was. The goblin took the trinket and thanked Eliana. I know the actions of some of your people don't represent the actions of all of your people, said the little goblin. It would be best if our kind understood the same, don't you think? The goblin reached into its tiny pocket and removed a similar trinket to the one Eliana recovered. The goblin handed it to Eliana and said, Hold this up whenever you feel lost or unsure of what to do. Eliana nodded to the goblin, and the goblin ran into the woods. Eliana returned to the road. She wanted an adventure, but she did not expect this to happen. She contemplated what happened and where to go from here. She heard the pirates returning to Vesuva from the road she just traveled. They were pushing a cart of the treasure they just looted. Eliana really didn't want to encounter these pirates again, especially now that she knew they were the villains in this story. She held the trinket up and it began to glow. When the pirates reached the path, they saw the trinket, similar to the one they gave Eliana, and beside it, they saw a fresh pair of goblin footprints. Yo, Tameless, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you. I'll let you know if it sticks that you still pop up in the viewer thing on your phone. Yeah, so that's our Eliana. She is extremely beautiful, and then to avoid these pirates, she turns herself into a goblin. And we haven't picked back up on the end of this story yet, but there are more stories that involve her, if that makes sense. Thank you, Mistral. Thank you. What's your Eliana like other than being connected or based off Mother? In the meantime, I think so she pops up again in Charlemagne's story. So the twist with Charlemagne is she is a obviously it's a play on Charlemagne, but she is a pirate that is obsessed with beautiful things. So that's why they don't just like straight kill Eliana when she goes into the cave. So she's obsessed with beautiful things. So her and Eliana are kind of like connected because of that. I'm trying to think. I don't think we reference Eliana and other stuff. Like I have some stories that are literally like recap stories, kind of. My Eliana's a queen, but she turns out kind of tragic. I guess you could think like Queen Charlotte status. I can't read that over the thing. But she's connected to my main character, and later on the story gets darker. Interesting. Ooh, that's like a really good tease. She's an aggressive queen, but has some softer sides. Interesting. Have you released any of your stuff anywhere or not yet? I think she's referenced in the juvenile story. This is just a poem. I think that's it. And then there should be a short with her in it too. It's all in your notebooks. You gotta let me know if you release anything anywhere so I can check it out. Okay, so Charlemagne kind of continues the Eliana story. That's why I like talking about writing, because it inspires to go back to my work. Yeah, like that's huge. If you have people that you could talk to consistently about writing, like it's such a motivator. I'm just like constantly for the last like 3 years. So after I lost my publisher, I think I mentioned this on stream. After I lost my publisher, I stopped writing for like a couple of years, like maybe like a year and a half to 2 years. And then I started on the fantasy distraction stuff, and I feel like I haven't like stopped writing in in the same amount of time, you know. Yeah, what's up, Monsword? I'm doing good, man. How you doing? We're just reading over some Eliana stuff, and then we're gonna read the rest of the Mira side story we started last week. But I'm like super tired, so I don't know how long I'm gonna go tonight, but I want to at least get the Mira side story done. But I hope you're doing good, man. Always good to see you. Yeah, so we read Eliana, she's a goblin. I actually, do I have it saved on here anywhere? Hold on, I have to dig a little bit, hold on. Doing okay? It's great if you feel inspired and have the motivation to keep working on it. Yeah, like, because, especially like the first season of Fantasy Distractions, I I basically gave myself a deadline every week. And then we added fantasy shorts. So I was writing 2 short stories a week for 50 weeks. So, well, I was technically only writing 2 for like 25 weeks. But for 50 weeks straight, I like basically gave myself a deadline that I had to make. So I was like constantly writing and releasing stuff during that time. I don't have that other piece of art on this computer yet. I didn't transfer it over. I had an art piece of Eliana made, but I don't think I have it. It's not where I thought it was. I'll transfer it over for next week. We could show that off next week. Yeah, so Charlemagne, Juvenile, and the short. I don't know what came first. Obviously, Juvenile comes after Charlemagne. I just don't know if the short comes before one of them. Because it was the 5th short. A lot of noises upstairs. So here's regular Eliana, the one we just read. The short... Okay, Charlemagne is next. I kind of figured that. Oh, Juvenile comes out before that as well. Okay. So the short would be last. I just want to read them in the order that we released them in. They're all really short. Charlemagne is only 2 pages. We weren't even doing 2-page stories at this point. The Charlemagne one just came out really short, and I didn't want to like add to it for no reason. The Juvenile one is just a poem, and it's like really short. And the short is probably 2 pages. Yeah, we can read these real quick. Then we'll get to Shadowed Lives and the conclusion of Mira's first side story adventure. All right. So here we go. All right. Fenrir is made up of many different continents, some of which feel as if they are ever expanding and growing. It feels like every year we find a new continent and more world to explore. But interlocking these continents are very large bodies of water that we have learned to generalize as the Fen Seas. Sure, there are subsections of the seas, but the generalization is necessary for simplicity's sake on our ever-expanding world. Some waters are cleaner and fresher than others. Some are full of fish, like the waters around Vorpal, and some areas of the Fen Seas are best left alone, most particularly the water around the bog to the south. Mucky black water that oozes into the harsh swamp-like texture of the bog and is surrounded by smoke and smog makes for much less ideal traversing. Then you have the complications that come with navigating some of the cleaner parts of the Fen Seas. The waters to the west just outside King Ingvar's territories are often violent and raging, much like their ruler. In other parts, both north and east, you have what many claim is the biggest problem of all, pirates. As I mentioned, this world is ever growing and expanding in ways no one can really explain, and often sea trade and exploration is the only way to find out about these new areas. Common folk aren't the only ones who know about this, and pirates wait for these new territories to emerge so they can take advantage of the weak. One of the lesser-known pirates is Charlemagne, who is often found near Vesuva. Compared to the other pirates roaming the Fen Seas, Charlemagne does things her own way and doesn't care too much about endless riches, but instead values the quality of them. Actually, if we're being technical, Charlemagne is quite obsessed with beautiful things and pretty picky on what she tries to hunt for. This makes it hard for her to recruit pirates to her fleet, but she does have quite a few loyal followers that probably just follow her because of how she presents herself. Charlemagne isn't what you would expect from her kind. She's rather clean, presents herself in an orderly fashion, and has rather high values and standards for a pirate. Sure, she wears an eye patch and a fancy hat, but I'm convinced it's just for show. I've actually had the privilege of talking to Charlemagne on occasion at a bar here in Vesuva. The last time we spoke, though, things seemed a bit off. Charlemagne wouldn't stop talking about her latest heist, a cave just outside Vesuva filled with treasure. She didn't go into the details of whose treasure it was or what happened to them, but she constantly spoke of a woman she met along the way. She was the most beautiful woman I had ever seen, Charlemagne exclaimed, and proceeded to describe this woman in fine detail to me. Tall and skinny with long silk-like dirty blonde hair, her eyes a fusion of the green on a summer field and the softest brown and the type of gold these pirates loved so much. If you've lived in Vesuva, then you know the beauty Charlemagne is referring to. Her name was Eliana. I explained the stories of this beauty to Charlemagne and asked when they looted this cave, to which Charlemagne replied that it had been some months prior, and Charlemagne was looking for this woman ever since. I regretfully had to inform her that Eliana had not been seen in the port for quite some time, that Eliana's story was one of wanting more than life had to offer, a woman with a true yearning for adventure beyond the Sea of Vesuva. In actuality, Eliana could be anywhere on Fenrir or beyond by now. A lost beauty, Charlemagne said. It was almost as if I wasn't even sitting in front of her, like she was talking to herself. Wandering adrift on a distant shore, Charlemagne sighed and finally looked up at me. Very poetic, I replied. Whether she's right here on Fenrir or lost out there on the Fen Seas, I will find this beauty, Eliana. Charlemagne stood up with renewed purpose. She raised her hand, and I noticed she had a small pendant with a chain attached to it clutched within. I will find her. This conversation I had with Charlemagne was months ago, which puts Eliana's disappearance at almost a year. Charlemagne never returned to Vesuva, at least not while I was at the bar, and I never found out if she found our sweet dear Eliana. Maybe she did. Charlemagne added that beauty to her growing collection, or maybe they lived happily ever after. I do miss the tales of the beauty of Vesuva, and the stories Charlemagne would tell me of her voyages. Someday, perhaps I'll learn what happened to them both. There was something in here that the fact that like there's connections here that I don't remember if they were on purpose or not. This guy replies very poetic. Or this person rather. Janine reads it, so I guess it would be a woman that's replying, but very poetic, I replied. So the next time Eliana and Charlemagne are mentioned is in Juvenal's story, which is Juvenal the poet. And then the next time Juvenal is mentioned is in Eliana's fantasy short. So it's actually like all connected, but I don't think I did that on purpose. I mean, I'm happy that it's connected. I mean, maybe I should just take the credit for it, but I don't remember doing it on purpose. So Juvenile, which is read by our friend Cecilia, she's just like a wandering poet, but she's very knowledgeable of things she shouldn't have knowledge on. Yeah, maybe I did it subconsciously. Some of this might not make sense because of you haven't heard all of the stories yet, Mistral. This was meant to be like a recap of the first 18. So it literally references like every story from 1 through 18 in here somewhere. But we'll read it. I don't think I've ever read it out loud. Cecilia's the only one that's read this, I'm pretty sure, like out loud. They're all in the same world, so connections are yeah. Yeah, I mean that's kind of like the point is that like they're meant to stand alone, but there should also be like references and Easter eggs that you should be able to pick up on if you listen and watch everything, you know? Like, this isn't like super in depth of all the stories, but what is my comment here? And whatever happened. Something that rhymes with goddesses? That's my comment. I think I shared this with Jake at some point and we were going over it. That's probably why that's there. They are somewhere, anywhere. Alright, this is reminiscing about the days of old and just watching our history unfold. Sit down and let me tell you a tale about these battles that raged and pirates that sailed. An epic showdown on a mountain so high, where the world changed, but neither men die. King Ingvar is ruthless, praise be to Lord Kazai. Fires burning, the rise and fall of Natalai. Cities crumble, but we don't know why. It must be Kai, the Starlight Samurai. His katana is surely a weapon to fear. Let's just hope he never makes it to Fenrir. I put the little dashes for pronunciation purposes, obviously. Grab a chair, I have more stories to share about mercenaries and a queen with sand-laden hair. Some are near and some are far, time-traveling bards and that one mage from Asgard. Mercenaries that do bad things, and one lost in the bog. A goddess that turns to mist, and one that lives in the fog. Speaking of gods and goddesses, they were fooled by a trickster's maneuver. And whatever happened to that beauty in Vesuva? Word is that she's much smaller now, because she's a goblin. But that isn't stopping Sharla looking out from the forward bow. How do I know so much? Well, I am a seeker of knowledge that rivals that of an immortal record keeper. Gather round, don't let Drew make a sound, or he'll take what you own and it'll never be found. Those monsters from the box, now those were quite odd. More on those later, as well as the forgotten god. A cupcake from Midport, a treat for a witch. The war in the north, to that subject we switch. Two legends will clash and Fenrir will pay. Like Hen should do, we all should pray. Maybe they should settle the score in Dry Trek Arena, if people knew it existed, including Queen Rima. I hope you like what you've heard and I hope you come back for more. You don't want to miss what happens next. You won't want to miss the dragon's roar. Reminiscing about days of glory, the legends, the wars, the story. Came out better than I thought. I don't know why there's an extra page. Came out a lot better than I originally thought, and Cecilia's reading of it is really good. This one we're not re-releasing in this batch, but definitely listen to. Thank you, Mistral. Thank you. Definitely listen to Cecilia's version. It's a lot better. But yeah, we do more with Juvenile. I have a lot of art of Juvenile too, actually. She is on the cover of like the ebook. I released like the first 25 as an ebook. She's on the cover of that. But she's also referenced in this story. Do this Eliana short. We'll do the Shadowed Live stuff. And we'll see how we feel after that. All right, this is from Eliana's perspective. That's what happens to me when I look at my old stuff. I think it's going to be terrible, but then when I reread it, I was like, oh, that was actually a good idea. Yeah. Yeah, I actually like writing the rhyming stuff. We could do the juvenile short is fun because she's like drunk. That one ended up over here. She's like drunk in it, but she's still like rhyming and trying to recap the stories and stuff. It's pretty great. Yeah, we definitely surprised us. Most of the fantasy distraction stuff that I wrote, I guess because it's like shorter. I'm pretty proud of. There's like one or two when I go back and read them, I'm like, like I wish I could take this one back, but it's all good. I can't think of those off the top of my head though, so I guess that's a good sign. All right. So this is actually from Eliana's perspective, but she's talking about the poet girl we were just talking about. Unique. That's the word I would use to describe the woman I met on my way to the docks today. I strayed from my usual path here in Vesuva and stopped at the markets. I hadn't been there in some time, since typically nothing special happens there, but today I'm glad I went that route. People think I'm some type of celebrity here in Vesuva, but I don't deserve their praise. Definitely not as much as someone like the poet I met. Long black hair and these markings on her arms that look like tattoos, but she described them as magical runes. I found out she came to Vesuva after traveling with some pirates to trade goods in the kingdom of Sabia. On top of all that, she carries around a notebook with her where she writes down her poems. I would have never guessed she's a poet, but now that I think about it, she does rhyme a lot, even when she's just talking in conversation. Her life sounds so much more exciting than mine. People here think I have it all, but I'm longing for so much more. On a daily basis, I spend my time making clothes and selling them when I feel like I need the money. Occasionally, if I meet a man worth spending time with, I'll go on a date, but it often ends poorly. I think this reputation I have as being some sought-after beauty comes with a lot of issues. The expectations are too high on both ends, and a lot of these guys just want to get married right away. Meanwhile, I'm over here just wanting to go traveling or go on an adventure. The idea of settling down and having children when I'm so young is not as appealing to me as seeing what else is out there, and I don't mean just here on Fenrir. Even before I met the poet, I always wanted to see what else was beyond the Fen Seas. Just about everyone knows about the kingdom of Sabia, but what is it really like there? It's mostly desert, so it must be hot, but what are the people like? The food? The animals? It's a kingdom, so what are the king and queen like? Also, a queen reference, ironically. I've also talked to a few people in the taverns around here who have traveled in from other continents, and they also talk about the north. Fenins call it Isla, and it sounds like it is the complete opposite of Sabia. Snowy climates mostly, and a lot of big mountains. I like to think there are a lot of bears. It just sounds like a place that would have a ton of bears, right? This part is so good in Janine's accent. When you hear the Janine one, if you go find the Janine one on the channel, her accent, that line is so much fun with her accent. Has to be bears. And oh, probably dragons. Big mountains have to have big dragons. But I'm not sure dragons would like the cold. I'm not really sure. I've never seen one, but I really want to. Maybe I'm thinking too far out of the box. Fenrir has a lot going on for it here too. All people talk about is the battle that shook the world between King Ingvar and Lord Kaza. I had to stop to read my note. It says she says this next line somewhat mockingly, like she's heard it a lot. The battle that shook the world between King Ingvar and Lord Kazai. It single-handedly put us on the brink of war. Those two are practically gods living among us. The aftermath of something that monumental left room for plenty of adventure. That's it. I've made up my mind. Today I'm going to leave Vesuva. This beauty is destined to embark on a journey all on her own. Look out, Fenrir, here I come. Yeah, it's so weird. I don't remember, like, I guess it makes sense that she would wonder what the king and queen of Sabia are like, but yeah, it's pretty funny. I don't remember. This is Fantasy Short 22, so it is possible it references a lot more than the other ones, but I mean, like, the other one wasn't hard to follow. Like, we'll do this one, then we'll get back to Shadowed Lives. I've seen it back then as Eureka. Yeah, that story, a lot of fun. Janine's accent is so awesome. Thank you for watching me on both platforms, Monsword. I just saw the message on there. I appreciate that. Yeah, definitely watch the Janine version. It's way better. All right, so um Cecilia had already read for this character. She read the first one, so she reads this one too. And she used an accent that makes again come out as like again. So that's why I put with your accent, it should be more like again. Thank you for the hydrates, Martin. I definitely need it. All right, we'll read this real quick and then Shadowed Lives, we will be going. Greetings, friend. Good to see you again. I gotta read it as again because then it won't rhyme. Are you here for more tales? Are you here to pick my brain? Then you're in for a treat since we've been partying hard. So what is your fancy? A fighter, a cyborg, a beauty, a god? Let's make this more spicy. Here's a deck, here's a card. Perhaps you'll get a genie, a zombie, a merc, or a bard? He's being a writer, he's being a writer. I just put that she kind of laughs, giggles her way through this. Again, way better when Cecilia does it. You drew our sweet Eden. Isn't she nice? It'd be a shame if something happened, like the ultimate sacrifice. For her, it isn't a choice. She just wants to see her kid grow. Into who or what? Well, how should I know? I've been watching things unfold and writing poems for what feels like forever. That's how I'm always prepared, no matter what the endeavor. Come pour me a drink, ye beautiful sailor. Be grateful you're here and we're recruited. Be grateful you're here and we're recruited by that tailor. You know, the one that whispers to the God King. Cecilia ad-libbed actually whispering this part, and it was so good. You know, the one that whispers to the God King. Isn't there mutual respect kind of an odd thing? What do you mean I've already had too many? I can stomach a plenty. You're just on your first, baby, and I've had 20. That's girl power like the likes of Natty and Riddle. Queen energy like Rima. Keep your head on a swivel. I'm not done, I've got more. Keep your butt in your seat. I've just begun, that's for sure. Like Mariah, I am sweet. I'm like freestyling in this one. I don't remember it being so fast at that part. Give me a moment to gather myself. I'll get back on track. Rask may be forgotten, but I'm sure he'll be back. You over there, please listen to me. I'm over here telling tales and spilling the tea. Morska is missing. Now where could she be? If you find her, I'm sure you'll find the other three. Fenrir could use them. We're getting pushed to the brink. Wartime approaches and I can barely drink. And she laughs and giggles again. I meant to say think, like I think that guy might have been, maybe I'm drunk. I think that guy might have been right. I may have had too many, but like Birch, I'm gonna put up a fight. Not much else to do since Charla took that gem and hoisted, far from the beauty of Vesuva, so she left disappointed. There was a Charla short as well that I'm just remembering now. Doesn't, I mean, it references Eliana, but not as much. Isla's next if we don't get into a wreck. Charla wants to be Ellie's hero, like Anna has Jack. Let me put my head down, for sleep I am bound. Off to dream sweet dreams. Ah, I'll see you around. Cecilia's version is way better. Plus I messed up like 20 times, so that's okay. The part that she accidentally messes up on, I messed up on though, so it's like super meta. It's exactly what I was going for. Is what we'll tell everyone. Okay. Shadowed Limestone. Quick recap for anyone who wasn't here last week. How do I even quick recap this? Mira was a ninja in the village she grew up in, and they picked on her because she has cat-like features, and they thought she was like basically cheating at being a ninja. So they treated her really poorly, and a bunch of the kids like betrayed her and turned on her. And then the leader, the elder of the village, gave her the option to just leave or stay. If she stayed, he would try to protect her. She chooses to leave. She was reading this book about pirates, decides she wants to be a pirate. She meets these orphaned kids led by this guy Rapez, who's like a really tall kid. I mean, they're like in their teens, but they're like between 16 and 18, but he's a really tall kid with blue hair and a lot of muscles like we were talking about. Yeah, Mistral really likes Rapez. We'll have to do more stories with Rapez in it. Rapez and Mira get like buddy basically. They go out and kill some bandits together. They get in trouble for killing said bandits and they get kicked out of the town that they're living in. and then they go to seek out this group of bandits called the Shade, who are now also after them. So they're kind of like chasing each other, and they get attacked while they're resting in an inn in Sanctivale, which is like supposed to be a safe place for them, but they still got attacked at it, and everybody was really shaken up. But Rapez kind of calms everybody down, and I think that's where we're at. And then they wake up the next morning, and that's where we pick up. That's like the quickest way to sum up 83 pages that I could think of. I'm sure I missed some stuff, but there you go. That's where we're at currently. They're waking up the next morning. We are on page. Oh, we're on page 73. So, like, it was still 37 pages. That was right. You like that recap? Okay, all right. The next morning, Rapez had the rest of the group gather their things. Their stay in the inn was a short one, and it was well warranted. If the Shade knew they were there, why can't I read tonight? I know I'm tired, but if the Shade knew where they were, they would be back, and it was a risk that Rapez wasn't willing to take. When Rapez got outside with his own bags and Agnes's, he was shocked to find Mira sitting on the stairs just outside the inn. I'm just gonna just want to take my ranger shirt off real quick because the wire of my headset hits it and it's like constantly making a noise. I don't think it comes out on the mic, but it's driving me crazy. So just give me one sec. Camera is not following me right now. Okay, one sec. Okay, better. Better. Okay. Yeah, it was driving me nuts. So I had to get rid of that. Okay. Oh yeah, Mira was super drunk at the end of the last chapter too. I heard you get up a few times overnight, Rapez said. When I need you awake, you're in a deep sleep. Every other time you're twisted and turning. Hold on. I read this part right, yeah. He was shocked to find Mira sitting on the stairs just inside the inn. I heard you get up a few times overnight, Rapez said. When I need you awake, you're in a deep sleep. Every other time you're twisted and turning. I threw up at least 7 times, Mira said, staring at the ground. It may have been more. I lost count after 7. That will teach you not to play with the big boys, Rapez laughed. I could have got the information we needed, Mira said. You're still hung up on that? The moment that guy mentioned the bandits from Wintermelt, I knew we were screwed. Rapez put the bags aside and sat down next to her. Nicolette filled you in? Yeah. And it's safe to guess that the men you were flirting it up with might also be members of the Shade. They had to have recognized us. Rapez hoped he was getting through to Mira. She seemed resourceful and tough, but he needed her to be smart. So why wait and send Smelly Pete? First, it was Ethan Rott. Rapez put his hand up to clarify. Second, because they need the element of surprise. These guys think they operate in the shadows and they're all badass. We both know they can't hang with us in a fight. Not the ones we've seen so far, at least, Mira said. These just might be the grunts doing all the dirty work for the actual legitimate bandits. You could be right. Rapez stood back up. It's important to know that they won't be happy we got another one of those grunts locked up. Mira looked up at him. As soon as they receive word that we did it to another one, they're definitely going to be coming for us. Even more reason to leave. Rapez grabbed the bags again and made his way down the stairs in front of the inn. Hey, Rapez! Durande made his way over and patted him on the back. I understand why you're leaving. I would too if I were in your position. Yeah, seemed like the right thing to do. I see you're up and, well, you're up, Durande said to Mira. This is Mira, the lightweight, Rapez said with a laugh. You guys are so loud, Mira said, still staring at the ground. What brings you here? Asked Rapez. Wanted to say goodbye? Look, the Shade have been a thorn in most people's sides all over Chroma. You helped us take one down, so I thought you deserved a bone thrown your way. Durande adjusted his armor. Rapez didn't notice the day before, but the armor didn't seem to fit Durande well at all. Based on what we've gathered over the last few weeks, the Shade have a new base of operations along the mountains near Rubrum. It's just behind the arena in Tark. Durande pointed in the direction he was referring to. You want my advice? Go back the way you came. Head back to Zuldra. There's nothing but trouble waiting for you in the southern territories. As a Sanctivale knight, I can't suggest ever traveling to Bawal since they're basically our sworn enemies, and obviously they know you're in Sanctivale now. I've spoken to my fellow knights and we've arranged a carriage to take you back west. I appreciate the offer, I really do, Rapez started, but we're going to Rubrum if that's where they are. You're trying to pick a fight with these guys? Durande shook his head but laughed right after. You're full of surprises, kid. I don't recommend it. Next time you might not be so lucky. I understand you have your posts and you have your duty as a knight to worry about, but I can't just hide in Azuldra while the Shade continues to attack wherever they feel like attacking in any town on Chroma. Rapez looked down at Mira, then back at Durande. I'm not afraid of them. You should be. Durande grabbed a small dagger from his belt and stabbed it into Rapez's shoulder. I'm sorry, Mistral. I'm sorry. He eats those, though, don't worry. Before he could attack again, Mira leapt off the stairs and grabbed his wrist and pushed it into the air. Rapez fell backwards onto the steps, and Nicolette ran out of the inn, screaming. I'm fine, Rapez roared. Gather the others and get them ready to leave, now. Before he could get back to his feet, Mira disarmed Durande and took his own dagger and stabbed him in the neck. To make sure he wasn't going to get back up, she gave the dagger an extra push before letting Durande's lifeless body drop to the floor. She whipped around to Rapez, Durande's blood all over her face. What just happened? Mira yelled. The Shade is everywhere, apparently. He was trying to get us to go back to Azuldra, so there is a carriage waiting for us on the west side of town. Rapez got back to his feet with Mira's help. Let me take him, Hawker. Put Rapez's arm over his shoulders. Mira, grab what you can. Mira grabbed the bags as the others ran out of the house. We see a dead member of the Shade. Sanctivale Knights will see a dead knight. We need to get out of here as soon as possible. Nicolette said as she followed the others. Agnes, Rapez said, unable to turn to look behind him. I'm here. Agnes was running close behind them, now having to carry her own bag. What should I do about this? Said Rapez. The blood was getting all over Hawker next to him. Hawker, take this. Agnes reached into her bag and pulled out a white cloth. Press it on the wound and keep it there until we get to the carriage. Got it. Hawker grabbed the cloth and placed it on Rapez's wound. Rapez winced in response, but took a deep breath and kept moving. When they reached the carriage, Mira jumped up on the front next to the driver. She placed her own dagger to the driver's throat. Nicolette got in the carriage first, then Rapez and Hawker. Raph went in. Raph went in next, then Nitai. Agnes helped Pip in before joining them. Not Azuldra, Rubrum, Mira said to the driver. No need for the dagger, miss. I was told to take you wherever you wanted to go, the driver said, with his hands up. Get your hands on those ropes and get us out of here, Mira yelled, and the driver did as she said. What was the name too? Mira killing that dude in cold blood. Okay. Sorry, I feel like the nasally feeling I get when I read like this. Yeah, that is quite. Yeah, she don't play around. She's meant to be kind of on the darker side, I guess. I don't know. She's there for comedy in some instances, but she's also pretty ruthless. It's like that throughout. Like you'll see that the more stories we read of her, it's pretty consistent based on her character as we've used her. And by we, I mean me. All right. I'm so used to saying we for fantasy distractions. Even though I write 99% of that stuff too. You like to see her fighting back? Yeah, she takes no prisoners. All right. Behind Tark, Mira said. The carriage driver began making his way around Tark, a large gladiator arena that was part of the Rubrum territories. I admire your commitment, but there's really no need to be holding on to me with the dagger. Sorry. Excuse me. I admire your commitment, But there's really no need to be holding on to me with a dagger to my throat still, especially since we're here already, pleaded the driver. But Mira was having none of it. Her grip on his shirt tightened, and she pressed the tip of the dagger onto the skin of his throat. I'm not letting my guard down, Mira answered firmly. Get us behind Tark. Once they were behind the great arena, Mira made sure the driver took them a bit further towards the mountains, then told him to stop. Once the carriage stopped moving, she called out to Nicolette. Being the last one in, Agnes was closest to the door, so she was the one who opened it. Pip and Raph exited first, Nitai and Nicolette after. Agnes and Hawker helped Rapez out of the carriage. They all grabbed their own bags. When Mira jumped off the top and joined them, she saw that Rapez's wound was patched up. Agnes's handiwork, no doubt. Before Mira could say a word, the carriage driver drove off. How bad is it? Mira asked. It's nothing. I can still fight just fine. I'll carry my own bag from here. Rapez picked it up with his injured arm and showed no sign of pain. Mira felt like he was hiding it. We need to find a camp. I'll scout ahead, Hawker said. It's funny because before you read Soldier's Crest, for some reason, I thought it was going to be like PG-13, but it gets graphic sometimes, so it was a nice surprise. Yeah, I was full anime mode in the OG. The first book is very like I don't like to make the Game of Thrones comparison, but I was reading a lot of Game of Thrones and into Game of Thrones when I started writing it. So I thought I needed to be a little bit more like adult and edgy. But I think when I rewrite it, not that I'm going to like take out that stuff, but I want to like tone it down a little bit because I feel like there's this guy Tarjan in the first book that is from Tark, actually. He's a gladiator in the arena in Tark. And a lot of my stuff is also heavily inspired by Spartacus. And he's like kind of my like Spartacus, basically. So in the Spartacus TV show, they curse a lot. So like nobody else in the book really curses, but he curses a ton. And I wanna cut that out because I don't really curse at all in real life. So yeah, after Game of Thrones, nothing phases me either. So yeah, I felt like I needed to be a bit more like edgy, but I actually want to dial. I think I went too far in the original writing of it. So if I write it over, I want to tone it down a lot. If we ever read some of it on stream, you'll see what I mean. I like it better when artists and writers don't hold back. Yeah, like I don't mind it being in there. I just like I think I did it like too much. And it was like I don't know. I didn't really like how much I did it. It's okay to be in there a little bit, but you'll see if we ever read it on stream. Tarjan, especially, he curses a lot in the book. But yeah, I don't mind like going all out and doing some crazy stuff though. As you'll see, there's more in this ebook specifically. I'll scout ahead, Hawker said. Take Pip and Raph with you, replied Rapez. Try to teach them some of your techniques. Sure thing. Hawker waved the two brothers over and they set out. Let's start making our way toward the mountains. Rapez began walking in the direction he wanted and the others followed suit. You should rest the arm, even if it's just for a short while, Agnes said. I know, you're right. I want to strike when they least expect it. The only other Shade members that know we were in Sanctiville couldn't have made it here faster than we did. If they find out we're coming, it's too late at this point. You want to attack them now? Asked Mira. Don't you think we should regroup and make sure our plan is solid? They're expecting us to do that, Rapez said. Yeah, for sure. Like, I kind of want to rewrite the whole book. You know? Like, I've edited it a few times, but like I want to restructure it a little bit. I must have a piece of hair on my neck that's driving me nuts, but like I want to fine tune it even more than when I edited it the first time. Okay. I said I would follow you no matter how insane your plans get. Let's hear it. Mira looked toward the mountains as she adjusted her bag. It weighed the least of all the bags they were carrying since she was new to the group and didn't bring much with her when she left the village. We send in Nicolette, he started. Wait, me? Nicolette walked faster to get ahead of the group as they walked. You want to send me in as the distraction? Are you sure that's a good idea? It's a great idea, said Mira. Other than the Ethan Rock guy, none of the Shade know you or what you look like. They won't see it coming. Then what? Mira's getting excited. She's like, then what? Then what? Hawker gets inside their hideout, scopes out where the most bandits are, and we go in and stomp them. Rapez smiled. That's it? Mira shook her head. This is the same strategy we used to beat that Rupert guy. His name was Roscoe, and no one is going to run around telling the Shade how we beat him. Yo, Thiefy, thank you so much for the raid, man. How was your stream? What were you playing? What's up, Luna? We're reading one of my ebooks about Mira right now, so we're 80 pages deep, so it's getting to the nitty-gritty. What's good was playing 7 Days with Luna. Nice. I definitely have to watch you guys play that game because I've heard the name, but I have no idea. I have no idea how that game plays. I have to look up some stuff on it. His name was Roscoe, and no one is going to run around telling the Shade how we beat him. They're just saying that we beat him. There are some people up ahead, Agnes interrupted. Dark clothing, should be Shade. Over here, quick. Natalia, who had been silent up until this point, led them to a hiding spot. Oh, your internet? Sorry to hear that. Can't be worse than when we play Monster Hunter, me, Kitty, and Akatsu. Also, what's up, Kitty? Thank you for doing the shout out. Appreciate you. I'm so bad with that stuff. I went like a very long time without getting raids, so I have like no raid etiquette. I'm sorry. Okay. Mira peeked over the rocks they hid behind. At the sight of the bandits, her tail went stiff, and she immediately cowered back down. You alright, Mira? Why are you shaking? Nicolette knelt down and grabbed Mira's arms to steady her. You just woke up? Nice. I know 2 of those boys. They were in my village, explained Mira. 2 of the boys who bullied you? Rapez started to stand up as if he was going to confront them right then and there, but Mira grabbed his wrist to keep him down. Yes, but we can't fight them right now. Let them lead us back to their base. I have a plan. Mira nodded to Nicolette. Hawker, Raph, and Pip joined them behind the rock. Shade? Hawker asked. Yeah, any luck with a spot to keep the bags? Asked Rapez. If we can get them out of here, we can pursue the bandits now. Leave me with the bags and go, Agnes said. I'm no help to you in a fight. I'll try to get them somewhere safe. All of these bags by yourself? Nicolette didn't see how Agnes could do it. I'll wait here if I have to, Agnes said. Not alone, Rapez replied. Raph, stay with her. I'll protect her, don't worry. Raph puffed out his chest. I got faith in you. Don't let me down. Rapez rubbed Raph's hair to remind him he's still a kid. Make sure nothing happens to my little brother or you'll have to answer to me. Raph knocked Rapez's hand off his head. Rapez nodded to him. All right, let's move. Slowly follow them to their base. As the group moved, Mira whispered, The 2 boys are Amisir and Darius. They treated me the worst, she began. You'll notice they're both carrying 2 katanas. They having been trained since young boys to wield them. They have been trained. This should not be having. I don't want to edit it because I want to keep the time and date of when I wrote this. And if I edit it, it's going to update. So that should be they have been. Hopefully that didn't make it into the ebook I put up on Amazon. But I might have had a separate one. Who knows? It might be on there. Feels bad. What type of village did you grow up in? Nitai asked. You're not going to believe me, but it was a ninja village. You're a ninja? Pip yelled, a bit louder than he should have. The entire group stopped when he yelled, but the Shade members kept walking, so they knew they didn't hear. I grew up in a village that was filled entirely with ninjas. None of them are part cat like me, but they're all highly skilled and trained from a young age to do the things I can do. So you should know all their moves, Rapez said. That should be helpful. Not quite. Mira made her way to the next set of bushes and rocks as the rest of the group followed her. I stopped attending classes because the bullying was getting worse and worse. I showed up to some, but I knew I was missing valuable lessons. I know a lot of the moves, but I won't know them all. Some is better than none, Nicolette said. Looks like we're here. Mira put her hand up to stop them, and they joined her behind the closest rock. In front of them was a large mountainside hideout built out of wood and stone. Multiple ramps had been made along the outside of the mountain, and there were many members of the Shade going in and out of the caves within the wall. Harvesting ore for money, Nicolette suggested. Ragna ore, most likely. I bet they found some in there, Rapez said. Isn't Ragna ore the rarest ore on Chroma? Asked Nitai. Sure is, answered Rapez. What else can you tell us about the boys? Well, Mira turned to face them. The boy with the blonde hair is Amisir. We have history. It's not good. Majority of my relationships from that village are not good, but he was one of the worst. The only one worse than him is the other boy with him now, Darius. The cart in the front has explosives, Hawker pointed out. To make the caves in the mountain, I bet, added Nitai. Anything else? I see about 5 of the shades stationed outside at all times, 3 or 4 passing in and out every couple of minutes. They must be taking turns, Hawker added. They're all armed with swords or daggers. I'm not seeing any others with the small katanas. Leaving the ninja village usually means it's near impossible to get back. I don't understand how Amisir and Darius could have joined the Shade while they were still in the village with me. Mira poked her head back out to look at what Hawker was describing. This is either a recent alliance or they've been playing everyone in that village for fools. For fouls is what I meant. I hope I fixed this before the Amazon thing. Been playing everyone in the village for fouls. They're actually playing basketball in the ninja village. Okay. Any other ninjas from your village that might be with them? Nicolette asked. Possible, Mira said. A lot of the other kids were pretty rotten. Like Ethan Rotten? Rapez laughed, but no one else did. Sorry, it's still a really stupid name. So what's the plan? Nicolette asked. She didn't want the others to know, but she was nervous. She had never been the distraction for them before. She rarely went out with them to steal food from the market. After seeing what Mira did, she knew she wouldn't be as good. I have a plan. Mira took out her dagger and walked over to Nicolette. Stand up. Mira cut Nicolette's shirt open to just above her chest to make her outfit more revealing. Really? That's your plan? Nicolette laughed. It's going to work, Mira smiled. Nitai, you're drooling, she said it without looking behind her. How did you— am not. Nitai hid behind Rapez. We need to stop being children, Hawker said. Let us in on your plan, Mira. Inside the cave was much more intricate than they could have imagined. It was also like nothing they had seen before. Carts lined narrow corridors with metal tracks, an astonishing feat considering metal was scarce on Chroma. In the middle of the tracks was a large circular area with tables. Most of the bandits were seated, taking a break after a long day's work. Mostly eaten food and half-empty wooden cups were in front of them as they laughed and spoke freely. Okay. We got lucky finding a side passage with only one guard, Mira whispered. Good job, Hawker. Mira couldn't see, but Hawker was smiling behind her. Nicolette, you ready? No, not really, Nicolette replied, nervousness in her voice. You got this, Nikki. Rapez patted her on the back. You're going to do great, Nitai added. As Nicolette stepped out of the shadows of the cave, she immediately felt uncomfortable. The thin air inside the cave was making her dizzy, and the echoes of the bandits' voices traveling through the walls made her even more nervous. Mira not only opened up her shirt, but also put holes in her pants to make her look different and more interesting. She also messed up her hair and put some dirt on her face, something she felt the bandits would find attractive. I don't remember writing this. The bandits didn't notice her at first, and she casually walked over to them. The idea of doing a sexy strut like Mira crossed her mind, but that wasn't the role she was meant to play. Excuse me, she said in a soft voice. She drew the attention of every bandit, and the loud, echoing voices all stopped. Who are you? Asked a bandit. I'm lost. I went to see the games at Tark and wanted to explore around Rubrum, but I seem to have lost my way. The heat is taking a toll on me, and I'm not sure I could go on like this much longer. Nicolette brought the back of her hand. I was thinking that when I was reading it, so I guess it makes sense because I wrote it. But Nicolette brought the back of her hand to her forehead, then crumbled to the ground. Hand me some water, Amisir said. He was sitting in the back, and Mira didn't realize he was there. He walked over and crouched down next to Nicolette, helping her sit up. Take a drink. Nicolette sipped the cup of water he gave her. What's a pretty girl like you doing in Tark by herself? Mira turned to Hawker and pointed him to a ledge in the northeast part of the room. She led the others to the left. My friends and I wanted to travel to see the games in Tark, Nicolette began. I got separated from them, but we had already made plans to go our separate ways after the games. I couldn't help but explore. This is your first time near Rubrum? Another bandit asked the question. It was Darius. Yes, I'm from Azuldra, Nicolette replied. Is she doing an accent, asked Pip. That would have been good to know prior, but... Sounds like it, replied Natai. Nicolette is so cool. Keep quiet, Repez whispered. Well, you have nothing to worry about. Emisyr helped her to her feet. We're going to take care of you. Emisyr smiled at her the way he smiled at Mira the night he embarrassed her. It's very hot, she continued. Do you have some water I could put on myself? Emisyr turned to the others with a big smile on his face. Grab me some water, boys! That's the only way I could think of how this should have been spoken, but it's probably, Anyway, they grabbed a large bucket of water and handed it off to Emisyr. Wait, Nicolette put out her hand. I'm afraid my clothes might be a bit see-through, she said, blushing. I'm too shy to have everyone see me. What's your name? Emisyr, Emisyr answered, to the sounds of his disappointed comrades behind him. Only you with me, please. Nicolette covered her body that was now glistening in sweat. Emisyr turned around and walked a few steps towards the others. Don't ruin this for me. It's been boring in this cave with a bunch of guys. Let me have this one. Just douse her with it, Darius yelled, ignoring the fact that Nicolette could hear him. Darius could ruin this, Mira whispered to Repez. He'll walk away, Repez said. How can you be so sure, Mira asked. You don't know him like I do. If she didn't pick Emisyr, he would have doused her already, Repez answered. Repez was right. It took some convincing, but Darius ended up being the one to lead the other bandits into the next room over. Good call, said Mira. It takes a pig to know a pig, said Natai. Like you're one to talk, replied Repez. Okay, Nicolette said. Now that it was just her and Emisyr. I think I'm ready. She let him dump the bucket of water on her, and she shook her hair and embraced it as seductively as she could. Mira had given her some pointers. She got the water out of her eyes and then threw herself into Emisyr's arms. Oh, Emisyr, she began. I don't know what I would have done without you. She separated herself from him. How should I repay you? I could think of a way, he replied with a smile, and he closed his eyes and leaned in for a kiss. Here it is. 100 pages to have this payoff. Something pressed against his lips and eventually hit his teeth, but it wasn't the lips of Nicolette. It was one of Mira's daggers. The cuts on his lips forced his eyes open as he stared down the blade of Mira. Mira! Emisyr shouted, but Repez was behind him, and he backed up right into him. The much larger Repez grabbed the back of his head and pulled his mouth open. Look away, Repez said to Pip. Nitai helped hide Pip's eyes as Mira cut out Emisyr's tongue and threw it in the bucket. Emisyr tried to call for help, but obviously he couldn't. Blood dripped out of his mouth as he squirmed and tried to scream on the floor. If you didn't explain the story of what they did to you outside, I'd feel bad for him, Nicolette said. It was so hot in the cave she almost looked dry already. Someone's coming. Yeah, she cuts out his tongue. Just straight up cuts it out. Throws it in the bucket he used to douse Nicolette. Mira's unhinged, for the most part. I'm happy that you mentioned it earlier and she didn't even do the crazy stuff yet. Revenge, yeah, I like that he goes to, like, close his eyes and kiss Nicolette, and she just, like, presses the dagger to his lips. So good. It's a good payoff. Someone's coming. Yeah, this was on page... It took 87 pages. It took 100 pages, it came through, yeah. Page 87. Their attention went to the nearest entrance where the other bandits went to give Emisyr and Nicolette their alone time. Darius walked in alone. Hawker, now! Repez yelled. Hawker loosed an arrow into one of the sticks of dynamite next to the entrance, and the explosion knocked Darius forward. More importantly, the blast caused part of the cave to collapse, blocking the entrance for the rest of the bandits. What the hell? Darius screamed as he rose back to his feet, his eyes locked with Mira's. Mira Stormwillow? Didn't think we would see each other again, she said. Came all the way here for revenge? I thought you were dead. Darius was beside himself. He jumped down to where the group was and kicked the nearest thing. One of the wooden cups knocked over in the explosion. He jumped down and just kicked a cup in frustration. Cats have 9 lives. Don't you read books? Mira stood in front of Repez to make sure she was the only one between them. They don't actually have 9 lives. I'm proof that they have at least two. Mira had her daggers out, the blood of Amasir still cascading down one of them. What did you do to Amasir? Darius moved closer, but Rapez also closed in on them and it forced Darius to stop. Made sure he won't say anything stupid ever again, Mira replied. Tell me what you're doing with the shade. Hey, what's up, Jay? How you doing? As soon as they get here, you're effing dead anyway. What does it matter? How did you get in and out of the village without people knowing? Mira stepped closer and Darius took a step back. You might as well answer. You're dead also. A table behind them broke. Hawker was thrown off the balcony and crashed through it. A woman in all black flipped off the balcony and landed behind the group. Her long purple hair fell down to her shoulders as she removed a mask covering her head. Don't answer any of her questions, Darius, Kikuri commanded. She is my best friend, after all, and it's been a long time since we gossiped. You too, Kiki? Mira went to move, but Rapez stopped her. We're going to be surrounded soon, Rapez said. Stick to the plan. Almost on cue, the room began to fill with members of the Shade. I am a bit surprised you're alive as well, Kikuri began. They told us you were dead. They lectured us for possibly being responsible. None of it really mattered. We had been sneaking out to help the Shade for years before we decided that it was okay to treat you however we wanted. You're not better than her, Nicolette said. I don't understand why you think you are, just because she looks different. Oh, your new friends have. Sorry. Oh, your new friend has some fire in her. I like that. This this is very reminds me of the Joker. Was this before? I might have written this before that movie came out, though. Definitely not. That movie's from like 2000. I wonder what year that movie. I'd have to look it up. Very Joker-esque, though. Kikuri was never this confident or straightforward, and it made Mira realize she never truly knew her at all. We hated Mira because she cheated. Sure, it was genetics she had no control over, but her mother made her the perfect little ninja. One that none of us could compete with, even if we practiced every day for our whole lives. It just came natural to Mira. Yeah, you want to know how I got these scars? So you were jealous? Nicolette said with a laugh. The way she delivered it made Kikuri furious. No, Jay got ads. That's alright, I need a water. Give me 1 second. Also, give me 1 sec. I'm gonna blow my nose real quick and see if it helps my nasally situation when reading. I forgot to unmute myself. I have to mute myself because when I blow my nose, I sound like an elephant. Thank you. Thank you, Monster Ward. Thank you, Kitty. The worst. The worst. Okay, let's do that again. Yo, what's up, Akatsu? My homie. What's up, Omega? And thank you for the follow, Jay. I appreciate that. I think that's the first follow I've gotten in like months on Twitch, so thank you. I've been losing a lot of followers, as I was complaining about earlier, but thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. Okay, let me go back. So you were jealous, Nicolette said with a laugh. The way she delivered it made Kikuri furious. That freak upset the balance. That freak upset the balance of our village. We needed to take matters into our own hands, Darius yelled from the other side. Rapez immediately reacted by moving over to him and punching him right in the face. Darius collapsed back and hit into the rock wall that Hawker made behind him. Best streamer NA. Oh, you know it. You know it. Not much has changed. The attack caused the rest of the Shade to jump down and begin their assault. What happened to sticking to the plan? Mira yelled. That Darius guy is more annoying than you said, Rapez yelled back. I couldn't help it. Mira knelt down and grabbed Pip by his shoulders. The youngest among them had hid himself under one of the tables the moment Kikuri revealed herself. Pip, I need you to be strong and focus. I can't, he said, shaking in Mira's arms. You can. You're tough. Use your gifts. A bandit kicked over the table they were hiding under. Mira blocked his attack with her daggers, then sliced open his chest. My gifts? Pip repeated. You heard me talking to the bandits from really far away. Nicolette told me. A bandit came up behind her, but Hawker put an arrow in his chest before he could do anything to her. Get Nitai, listen for the cart, and speed up our plan. I can do that, Pip said quietly. What did you say? Mira yelled. I can do that, Pip. Pip jumped up. Nitai ran past him. Wait for me, Nitai. Mira threw both of her daggers at Kikuri, who easily swatted them away with her katanas. She ran backwards towards Amasir, who was still holding his mouth on the floor, and grabbed his katanas from his waist. No matter what happens, she's mine, Mira said, her back against Rapez's back. I have no problem watching that. Just make sure you remember why we're here. Information about the Shade. He said back to her before his next attack on the closest bandit. Kikuri and Mira stood off to the side, away from Rapez. Nicolette, Hawker, and the rest of the bandits... Oh, sorry. Having trouble reading tonight. I don't know if it's because I'm, like, tired or what, but... Kikuri and Mira stood off to the side, away from Rapez, Nicolette, Hawker, and the rest of the bandits. They began to circle each other. It's cute that you found some friends that you think like you, said Kikuri. Remember when you thought Azel and I did? For 4 whole years? Yeah, it's fight time. They accepted me for different reasons, Mira said, inspecting her surroundings as they circled each other. They accept me for who I am. They don't pity me for what I am. Mira ran to the nearest wall and pushed off of it with her feet as she tried to pounce on Kikuri, but the ninja girl was too fast and dodged the attack. Mira rolled after her miss and spun around wildly with her katanas to keep Kikuri at a distance. You fight like the monster we always knew you were, yelled Kikuri. Not helping her own cause, Mira once again ran at Kikuri with an unorthodox and crazy fighting style, but Kikuri's experience began to become a factor. Mira's first wild swing was dodged with ease, and her second swing left her open for a punch from Kikuri. Mira spit on the floor and rubbed her mouth. I'm not a monster. You're right, you're a cheater, Kikuri said. Mira realized at that point Kikuri was still the obnoxious, immature girl she always knew she was. Are you already making excuses? Asked Mira. How will these well-mannered, clean individuals that you spend your time with ever take you seriously? I'm just gonna end this. Even genetically superior, you're proving to be quite the disappointment. Kikuri dashed toward the wooden tables and forced Mira to follow. She walked on a bench that the bandits were using to sit on and stepped onto one table before jumping to the next. Mira easily followed, but Kikuri turned at the end of the next table, and the two began to exchange katana swings. I feel like blowing my nose made me more nasally. They blocked each other's attacks until Mira did a short hop backwards off the table and began to shake it, The movement made Kikuri stagger and threw her off balance. Before she could fall off the table, Mira rolled over the top and slashed Kikuri's thigh. She used her own momentum to deliver a jumping kick into Kikuri's a kick into Kikuri's midsection, throwing her off the table. Kikuri got up to one knee. Both girls were breathing heavily. You were fighting like that on purpose to get me off my guard. It worked, didn't it? Mira asked. Jay's got the popcorn. It worked, didn't it? Mira asked. It was more of a distraction, really. A distraction from what? Kikuri was back on her feet. Mira attacked her again, forcing her to block. I don't want to ruin all of the surprises. Meanwhile, the bandits recognized the weak link in this battle and began to pursue Nicolette. She ran by the nearest wall and stood defenseless as bandits began to surround her. One by one, Hawker took them down with arrows. He was a bit slow on the final bandit, and Nicolette was forced to run around him. Just as Hawker lined up his shot, Rapez cut down the last bandit. You're getting really good at this whole distraction thing, Rapez said. He stood in front of her to make sure no more bandits harassed her. Right, totally what I was doing there, Nicolette smiled innocently. Can we leave yet? You can, Rapez said. Exit closest to us should be empty now. Take it down and regroup with Nitai and Pip. Help them out. You gonna be okay here? Nicolette asked as she inched her way to the exit Rapez mentioned. We'll be fine. You okay traveling alone? For the sake of our group, I can do it. Nicolette was right in front of the exit. Rapez moved with her to ensure her safety. Good. I need you to be stronger than me today, not just smarter. Rapez turned around to smile at her. I have never loved and hated a man so equally this much in my entire life. This is a great line, actually. I have never loved and hated a man so equally this much in my entire life. Go, Rapez yelled, and off she went. Kikuri and Mira clashed katanas again, but a rumbling beneath the ground forced them away from each other. What was that? Asked Kikuri to one of the nearby bandits. A present for my old friend, Mira screamed. A long series of explosions erupted beneath where they were standing. Suddenly the ground gave way, and Mira, her friends, and all the bandits went crashing down to the next part of the mine. Everyone landed awkwardly. Rapez fell through a table similar to the ones the bandits were sitting at above them earlier, and Nicolette landed on him. Hawker landed on top of Emissary, who was still trying to form words. Mira and Kikuri landed on a thick piece of wood that was covering another hole. The explosions themselves did more damage to the ceiling above than the ground below, but debris was everywhere. Kikuri pushed herself up as she coughed from the smoke left in the wake of the aftermath of the explosions. I did not, Omega. Not yet. I don't know if I ever will. Maybe if enough people want me to. You fool! Kikuri started. How many of our bombs did you set off? Pip and Nitai had, Pip and Nitai had instructions to set off all of the ones on this floor, all the ones in the hallways, and whatever else they could find and set off before having to run out, Mira said, proudly. The boys sure gave us a show. This mine is extremely unstable, Kikuri pointed to the wooden beams the bandits were using to hold up their entrances. We could easily get stuck in this mine and then we'll all be dead. You've been using explosives to make your holes. How is this any different? Mira turned to Rapez for approval, who was back on his feet and had a bandit in a headlock. We use the explosives to get into the mines. We rarely use them inside unless we know for sure that the next floor is stable. Kikuri readied her katanas. Mira wasn't sure if it was the heat or the fact that she was really mad at her, but her face was dark red. You and Hawker got this, right? She said to Rapez, but never took her eyes off of Kikuri. Yeah. Rapez threw the bandit he was holding to the side. Do whatever you feel you need to do. You trusted me, I trust you. Good. Mira stomped the wood they were standing on and it forced them to teeter. Don't you dare, Kikuri yelled, bracing herself for whatever would come next. Mira jumped as high as she used to in the ninja village and came crashing down with both feet onto the wood, causing it to break. The two girls crashed to the next floor of the mine below. It was hotter and the air was even thinner than before. Mira immediately noticed smoke and fire around the edges of the room, but was unsure what caused it exactly. The entire room was now as red as Kikori's face was, and the smoke made it difficult for her to find her opponent. She thought she thought she saw a shadow move and got to her feet with her katanas at the ready. When the smoke parted for her to see, it was Azel who stood before her. Who would have known the one thwarting our plans was a familiar face? We heard about Roscoe's defeat at the hands of a cat girl and a big blue-haired boy. We just thought there were more freaks like you running around Chroma. We never expected it to actually be you, Azel said. His arms were folded and Mira debated striking him down then and there. Then she heard Azel's voice again, but his mouth wasn't moving, and the voice came from behind her. She turned around and saw another Azel step out from the lingering smoke. Confused? The other Azel asked. You may have an unfair advantage due to your genetics, but you put that advantage in jeopardy when you stopped attending classes. It's amazing what discipline and consistency will teach you about your craft. It's getting very Naruto up in here. Not much I can do about it. Okay. Sorry. This ninja magic projects your shadows and can only be used by those lucky enough to have the innate ability at birth. A third Azel emerged from the shadows to speak the words. Select few ninja can use it, let alone master it. Without the distraction of some freak hybrid and her near royalty family breathing down our necks, some of us were able to learn it. Few of us chose to master it. Unfortunately for you, said Kikori, finally revealing herself beside the first Azel. We were two of the ones who did master it. A second Kikori finished her sentence as she joined the other Azel. Are you 2 or 4 or 6 idiots done talking? Mira stood in the middle of them, but she no longer had her katanas ready. She was no longer in a stance ready to fight. You went to more classes, you learned more ninja spells, you become one with the shadows. You're all a bunch of useless human beings with way more power than you know what to do with it. You ain't even worthy of the title ninja. Why are you talking with that accent all of a sudden, said one of the Kikoris. You don't know what we're capable of, yelled an Azel. Aye. Mira dashed forward and sliced the closest Azel's arm. It was the one that just yelled at her. But it'd be easy to learn your tricks with mere mind games. One of the Kikoris kicked Mira square in the back and forced her to the ground. You think yourself clever, Mira? The real Azel revealed himself beside the Kikori who kicked her and did not have the cut she just gave him. Shadow projection can mimic most bodily functions with enough training, something you could have learned if you had if you had the magic and stayed in the village. You act like I could have stayed there. Mira began to push herself up off the ground. You act like you didn't force me out by treating me the way you treated me. Oh, is the poor little kitty crying? Kikori said through a laugh. Her clones all giggled with her the same way the girls giggled at her expense the night of the dance. In one motion, Mira launched herself off the floor and backflipped over the entire group of shadows. The moment she landed, she dropped to the ground and shot forward with the katanas drawn. She dropped one Azel shadow, then a Kikori. She spun through the smoke screen in a way that made her hard to see, and at a speed that the two ninjas couldn't track. She leapt onto the chest of the second Azel and stabbed him through the chest, then pushed off him with her feet and slit the throat of the next Kikori. The next Azel she attacked blocked the attack with his katana. Are you done babbling yet? Mira brought her fist up and caught Azel in the chin, causing him to stagger back. Kikori slashed at her face, but she parried it with her katana, wrapped her tail around Kikori's leg, and tripped her to the ground. I expected more, Mira said, but she let her guard down just enough for Azel to spin around and kick her in the stomach. The impact knocked the wind out of her, and sent her sliding across the ground. She rolled over and began coughing, the heat and smoke both working against her. You didn't die then, but you're gonna die down here, Kikori said as she slowly walked towards her. The shade commands it, added Azel. Water break real quick, sorry. I turned the heat down, but it's getting cold down here again. I might have to turn it back up after this. There it is, Mira said with a smile on her face. Some blood was beginning to form in her mouth, and she rolled over to spit it out. I was worried you two might be the leaders or the ones pulling the strings. I should have known you're both too dumb for that. Her final moments in this life and she still chooses to mock us? Kikari laughed again. Mira, give it a rest. You were never meant for this world. You're a disgusting creation, not a human being. Before the ninjas could press any further, a loud thud interrupted them. Azel, Kikari, and Mira all looked towards the hole that Mira and Kikari fell through. Darius landed first, with Amisir on top of him. A few bandits fell through the hole next. Azel felt a tap on his shoulder and turned right into a punch from Rapez, right on his jaw. There wasn't another right in there. Azel felt a tap on his shoulder and turned into a punch from Rapez right on his jaw. I told Hawker to drop those guys so I could make a surprising entrance. He flexed as he stood in front of Mira. That could be worded, that could be taken one of two ways. Like he actually flexed or he was flexing like current slang, which did not exist when I wrote this. Color me surprised. Mira put her hand out and Rapez pulled her back to her feet. I had it under control. Looked like it. Rapez took out his sword. I promised you that you could have Coco, but then I heard a dude down here. Kiki. Her name is Kiki, Mira sighed. The dude is Azel, another ninja from the village. They're all pretty awful kids, huh? Rapez smirked. Like I said, the worst, Mira replied. Are you done? Yelled Azel. His anger and immaturity caused his voice to crack. How can we be done? We didn't kick your asses yet, Rapez answered, his words only infuriating Azel further. Hikari immediately split into multiple shadows in response, and Azel did the same. Mira and Rapez once again stood back to back with the ninjas and shadows around them. About 20 of them, 2 of us. I like our chances, Mira said. If we get out of this alive, you owe me a cutlass. I'll do you one better. Rapez tightened the grip on the handle of his sword. I'll get you a damn boat. Oh, you're a great motivational speaker. I'm going to hold you to that. Mira turned around and climbed on Rapez's back and savagely launched herself at one of the shadows, ripping it to pieces with her katanas. I don't remember that. She just climbed on his back and like went flying at them. Are you more and more attracted to Rapez yet? Other than the image of him with 10 abs. Rapez followed her lead and turned the other way, cutting down copies of Azel and Kikari left and right. The third Kikari he swung at caught his wrist and tried a power struggle, but the brute strength of Rapez was too much. As she began to give way, she attacked with her free arm, and Rapez grabbed her wrist in response. Kikari brought her right foot up and placed the heel of her shoe on the bandaged stab wound on Rapez's shoulder. The pain caused him to yell, but his opposite shoulder was pierced by one of Azel's katanas from behind. Rapez! Mira cut down the Azel that stabbed him and forced Kikari away. Rapez fell down to one knee. Damn, he said through heavy breaths. Blood began to seep through the bandage that Agnes put on his previous wound, and blood dripped off his chest to the ground from the new wound. Not much I could have done about that one. We're going to make you watch as we kill your friend. Slowly, said Azel. The impact of a released arrow caught the shadow in between the eyes, which caused it to dissipate. One by one, the shadows dropped to Hawker's arrows, with only the real Kikari and Azel deflecting them. I must say I'm impressed by how many friends you were actually able to get and keep this time, Kikari said. They're proving rather resourceful for you, and very annoying. On cue, the wall behind them blew up, and 2 more bombs came rolling in behind them. Azel and Kikari jumped out of the way just in time as Pip, Nitai, and Nicolette came rushing in. Are we late? Asked Nitai. Right on time, shouted Mira over the noise. I know, Rapez is taking a beating. I'm sorry, Mistral. I don't remember him getting... I remember the first stab that Agnes patched up. I don't remember him getting stabbed another time. And also getting the first wound reopened. We were always one step ahead of you, said Nicolette proudly. How does that feel? You're the dumbest people I've ever met, Kikari shouted. I like that they're still like kind of bantering like kids. Like a lot of people calling each other dumb, stupid, and idiots. That explosion can bring this whole place down. As she said the words, the ceiling above her began to give, and she jumped backwards just in time to avoid it falling on her. This should be on her. I hope all these typos aren't in the actual release of it. We need to leave, Azel. We can't finish this. We can't return to the shade as failures, Azel yelled in response. We must finish this. The next part of the ceiling to fall changed his mind as it blocked the way between them and Mira. Kikari grabbed his arm and he reluctantly followed her out a secret passage in the cave. Can we get outside from the way you came in? Asked Mira. You bet, said Nicolette. I left some of the bandits' belongings as markers to guide us back, but we need to hurry. This place can come down at any second. Let's go. Rapez walked over to the spot where Nicolette, Nitai, and Pip entered, but let the others go first. Hawker was last, and Rapez threw his arm around him for support from his wounds. This is becoming too common of a thing, my friend, Hawker said with a laugh. It's hurting me a lot more than it's hurting you, I promise, replied Rapez. When the group made it outside, they gathered together and turned around to watch the mine fall in on itself. Dust and debris shot out of the tunnel entrances, but you could tell that rocks now blocked the way inside. It would be too dangerous for the Shade to resume mining there now. They got away, said Nicolette. Yeah. Mira collapsed to the ground and smiled. We'll get them. Learn anything good from the ninjas? Asked Nitai. Seems like they're not the ones running the show, but Azel didn't give away who they answer to exactly. They just keep referring to them as the Shade itself, but never an individual person. It's confusing, Pip said with a pout. Very, added Hawker. We need to get Rapez to Agnes as soon as possible. Hey, Mira. Nicolette turned to face her, and Mira pushed herself up so that she was leaning on her elbows. Her face was covered in dirt. You know how you want to be a pirate? Yeah, replied Mira. I know you were busy in fighting, but I figured a pirate like you would want to get some treasure out of a big fight like that, especially a mine full of Ragna ore. Nicolette sat down next to Mira. You got me a present? Her ears perked up at the thought. I think so. Not really sure what it is. Nicolette reached into the pocket of her pants and pulled out a blue crystal. It was the only one I saw of its kind in there. My eye caught a glimpse of it when we were messing with that Emissary boy. I grabbed it right after the fight, once Rapez told me to go meet up with Pip and Nitai. Mira gently took it from between Nicolette's fingers. Weird. I wonder why it was the only one, and I wonder what it does. The inside seems completely clear, like you could see through it. Mira held it up to the light of the sun and further inspected it. Well, if anyone will know, it'll be someone in Azuldra, Rapez said. He coughed right after. Get Agnes to patch me up, then we'll go back. We're not welcome in Wintermelt anymore, said Nitai. There are way more towns in Azuldra than Wintermelt. We'll just go around there and set up our next hideout in one of the other places, Rapez smiled. I can't take the heat down here, and it's obviously not safe in Sanctiville. I like this idea. Azuldra is definitely more beautiful, Nicolette said. Yeah, but there's some beauty in the aftermath of a mine that collapsed on your enemies too, right? Mira began to get back up to her feet. When she stood up and faced the group, they were all staring at her. What? You're a pretty sick chick, Mira. Rapez laughed. I actually laughed. You're a pretty sick chick, Mira. Rapez laughed. I mean, I'm starting to believe you're just batshit crazy, honestly. Let me guess. Nicolette also stood up to join Mira. That's why you love her? Damn right it is. Rapez's own excitement caused his wounds to hurt. Let's get out of here. I need Agnes pretty bad. I like that Mira stabbing that dude in the throat and like giving it a little extra was enough for you to be like, Mira's kind of like unhinged. And then like the rest of this book is literally like, or this ebook rather, is literally just her being completely insane. Thank you, Mistral. Thank you. Yeah. Yep. The reaction too. Yep. All right. This is the epilogue. We got 8 pages left. A few days passed by the time Agnes patched up Rapez. The group rested at a Rubrum inn, and then they made their way to Azuldra's capital, the Island of Salvation. Nitai once again got the group a room in an inn, and they weren't pursued by any members of the Shade along the way. Rapez woke up early, as he often did. He got more than 4 hours of sleep. If he got more than 4 hours of sleep, it would be considered a miracle. Mira's the best, yeah. She's my favorite character by far. He constantly made sure he was awake and ready to protect his comrades, even if they were safe inside an Azuldra inn. As he sat up in his bed, he scanned the room to do a head count. Raph and Pip were lying quietly next to each other. Hawker was sitting in a chair beside the window with his head back and his eyes closed. Nitai was face down on his pillow, and Rapez thought he was suffocating himself, but he could visibly see him breathing, and with his art he could hear it. To his left was Nicolette, whom he remembered was oddly cuddling with Mira the night before. Where Mira used to be was the cut-up shirt that Mira modified for Nicolette, and the cat girl was nowhere to be found. Nicolette clutched it tightly in her hands. Of course I had Nicolette and Mira just cuddling. Nicolette clutched it tightly in her hands with the blanket draped over her and barely covering her. The sight reminded Rapez to take a moment to enjoy their new location. He stood up. The 2 stab wounds had fully healed by the end of their journey back to Azuldra. Agnes was one of the best healers on Chroma, and her work showed. There were 2 light scars where the incisions were made on his chest and in his back, but you would never be able to tell that those scars were gained a few days prior. Rapez walked over to the window Hawker was staring out and admired the scenery. There was no place like the Island of Salvation on Chroma, where all other towns and cities brought with it this dreariness of the aftermath of the Stragus, the cataclysmic event that was responsible for the current state of the Earth. The Island of Salvation looked more like a tropical resort. This is all pointing back to me getting art made of Mira in a bikini for if we ever hit 1,000 followers. The only area on Chroma to have palm trees, beaches, and water you could actually swim in. It felt as if the group had gone on a vacation after their victory. Rapez opted to not put any more clothes on. He walked outside in just his shorts. No shoes, no shirts, or anything. When he got outside, there you go, Mistral. When he got outside, a warm breeze touched his skin and made him glad they survived the encounter with the Shade. Yeah, this is the post-credits beach episode. It reminded him that even though this world was so broken, there was still some beauty to be found. You just had to look for it. Hey! She's more like, I don't want to wave because it's going to activate my camera. But hey, Mira waved. She was wearing a bikini that Rapez didn't remember her owning or buying on their travels. You're up early. As are you. Rapez stretched. You also have way too much energy. Your hair's a mess, Mira said as she handed a cup to Rapez. He stared down at the contents, but it didn't look familiar to him. I took some of our leftover gold and got this outfit. What do you think? Yeah, gotta have the fan service after a hard-fought battle. It's nice. Rapez didn't even take a second look. What is this? The guy at the market over there, Mira pointed. He said it gives you energy early in the morning. That explains a lot. Rapez took a sip and walked down the front stairs of the inn and joined Mira. She began walking back towards the market. You noticed the big blue castle, right? Yeah. Mira had a cup of her own and took a sip as well. Judging by her energy, Rapez thought this might be her second or third cup. I'm guessing that's where the king and queen of Azuldra stay. Yeah, it is. Let's head over to the back of it. I want to show you something. Mira and Rapez made their way past the market and walked a long way around the giant blue castle in the back of the Island of Salvation. Right behind the castle was the outstretched ocean. The raging sea was visible from where they were standing, but the water itself was clear and blue. Giant ropes were connected to the side of a wooden ship and held it in place as numerous people were working to finish the ship. Mira's ears and tail perked up at the sight, and she turned to Rapez with a big smile on her face. That's a boat, she blurted out, stating the obvious. It sure is. Rapez took another sip of his drink. Can we get closer? She asked. We can do whatever you want to do. Before Rapez could finish the words, Mira began running toward the dock. The same warm breeze that touched Rapez earlier was now flowing through Mira's red hair, the length of which had grown substantially since Mira showed up in Wintermelt. By the time Rapez caught up, Mira was leaning on a wooden banister and staring up at the ship. She had discarded her drink somewhere along the way and was just standing there admiring it. She's a beauty. Sure is. The response came from a man nearby. He was wearing a blue and white coat that buttoned in front of him and covered nearly all of his body. He had black boots on and was wearing glasses. The same sun that reflected off the blue ocean reflected off his short blue hair. Can't say I've ever seen anyone who looks like you. And you are? Rapez asked. Mira never stopped looking at the boat, despite the man clearly speaking of her. Forgive me, I'm just easily fascinated, like your friend here. The man walked over and stuck out his hand. Oliver Milwake, this boat is my creation. Rapez accepted the gesture the moment he said the boat was his. I'm Rapez, this is Mira. Mira finally turned around to find Oliver's hand waiting for her as well. She gladly shook it. This is a magnificent vessel, she said with a big smile. You have something glowing in your pants, Oliver said with a smile of his own. The words offended Rapez at first until he noticed the glow in Mira's bikini bottoms as well. The hell is that, Mira? Rapez asked. I don't know, Mira yelled, surprised. She reached in and pulled out the blue crystal stone that Nicolette stole for her. She held it up between her thumb and index finger, and it began to glow even brighter. I'm not sure what's happening. I thought your appearance alone was fascinating enough, but this is something I did not expect, Oliver stated. He leaned closer to look at the stone. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a magnifying glass to inspect it further. Look at the water, Rapez said as he pointed. It's not moving. The workers on the ship all began to peer over the side, wondering why the movement had stopped. Oliver stepped around Mira and looked over the banister and saw that the raging waters of Chroma were suddenly calm. The stone did this? Oliver asked. I have a bad habit of doing that. If it's a question mark, I say, like, the follow-up also as a question. The stone did this? Oliver asked. Looks like it. Mira looked at Rapez with another big smile. It must be calming the waters. This is an outstanding discovery, Oliver said as he turned to Mira. Mira jumped into his arms and hugged him. Never been hugged by a woman before, Mira joked. This means we could be pirates. Mira turned back to Rapez. Pirates? Oliver laughed. Where did you find that stone? A mine in Rubrum, said Mira. Maybe we shouldn't run around telling everybody, Rapez added. Are you crazy? This means we might be able to sail the seas like Captain Charlotte. Captain Charlotte Blackwater? Asked Oliver. I have some of her books. I seem to only be missing the first volume. There are more? Mira's voice raised as she yelled. I have the first one. You have to let me read it, Oliver said, almost as loud as Mira. Can you two nerds focus? Rapez was now leaning on the banister to look at the water. The mine in Rubrum got closed off due to complications. It might be a while before you could go looking for more of these stones. I'll send a team out there tomorrow, Oliver decided. In the meantime, would you mind if I examine the one you have further so that I may find a way to attach it to the ship so it can sail when completed? I need something in return, Mira said. As it stands right now, this is the most important thing to me, so the trade has to be worth my while. Anything you want, just say the word. Oliver once again smiled at her. When it's done, I want to be your explorer. She looked at Rapez for approval and he nodded. Me and my friends, my crew, my stone, your ship. I'll return often with news and information of the islands outside of Chroma. We already promised the voyage to another group, started Oliver. They're dead in the water without the stone, Ollie, said Rapez. His arms were now folded. We'll fold our arms too. His arms were now folded as he leaned against the banister. There might be more in the mines. There might not be. Could take years before you find another one. Without us being your crew, we're not handing it over, added Mira. Looks like my hands are tied then. Oliver raised his arms in surrender. You can do the exploring. I can't turn down this opportunity just to not hurt feelings. I've been looking for a way to calm the seas for months. Really? Mira hugged him again, licked his face, then patted him on the head. Oh, Ollie, you're such a great person. Oliver's face turned red as he adjusted his glasses. Mira had knocked them off center. Rapez laughed. She isn't always like this, I promise, said Rapez. I'll get a box for the stone, said Oliver. He chose to ignore the awkward affections of Mira. Don't go anywhere. When he turned to walk away, Mira clenched the blue stone. Wow. When he turned to walk away, Mira clenched the blue stone tightly in her hand as her tail perked up again. She began dancing around Rapez, who still had his arms folded. She's just dancing around him. You're out of control, he said with a laugh. Looks like your dreams are coming true. You're gonna come with me, right? Mira asked for clarification. Play pirates and discover land that's never been seen before? Rapez looked down with a smirk and shook his head. Come on, it's a no-brains thing, Mira said. A no-brainer, you mean? Rapez turned around and leaned his forearms on the banister, staring out into the seemingly endless ocean stretched out before them. Yeah, that. Mira mimicked Rapez's pose, brushing her now wild red mane out of her face. If the dangerous and great unknown is your destination, then I'm going too. Rapaz put his arm around Mira and pulled her in close. As long as you have my back. Mira couldn't control the smile on her face as he pulled her head, frazzled mane of hair first, into his chest. Always, she said. The end. These are all people that helped me make the book. Yep, the end. Has a cute little adorable ending. Fantasy service, fan service, fantasy service, fan service, beach episode. That was awesome. Thank you, Mistral. We do have a Mira dance emote. She was dancing around Rapaz. Okay, I'm gonna put the heat back up and use the bathroom real quick, and then I might have some more Mira stuff we could look at that I don't really remember as well. But I'll be right back. Remembered to unmute myself this time. I'm evolving. I was also way like when I first wrote this, I was way too proud of this no-brainer callback. By the way, I think about this all the time, still to this day. Let me just put in brain. Yeah, no problem, Mistral. It was fun for me too. I haven't revisited this in a while. I think I released it as an ebook in 2019, so that means I was probably writing it in like 2017, 2018. So it's been a couple of years for me. Yeah, this was I think I know more than that, Rapez said, just based on what you told me. The kids in that village mistreated you for being different. We welcomed you for the same reason. Seems like a no-brainer to me. She's like, a no-brainer? It's like, like you don't need to be smart to figure this one out. And then we had the callback way back. What page was that? Page 60. Come on, it's a no-brains thing. A no-brainer, you mean? I was way too proud of it. I'm invested now. You should definitely keep the world and continue it. Yeah, I would like to. I'm definitely Mira's part of it too. Like her part is so good. I started writing there's another one that's supposed to come out after this. See if I can find it real quick. I'm just gonna switch scenes. I have a whole lot of junk in my Google Docs. Also, I should probably sit down. My legs are killing me. We're going down, chat. Make the next book? Maybe I should just write it on stream. I can read you guys some of it. It's like, I think maybe I did 10 pages, if that. See if I can find it real quick. I have a whole separate section of just Mira side stories stuff, so it shouldn't be too hard. The second one is called The Ring Heist. I have like 12 pages. We can see where I took this, because honestly I don't remember. When I wrote this, I was working on like multiple books at the same time. If you refine and continue it, I think it would be a great series. Yeah, I would love to. It's funny because like this is like a side thing that's like loosely connected to the first book. And like I only made it because I like writing Mira so much. So it's just like it's weird that I think I would like rather pursue this a bit more than the original Soldier's Crest storyline. But the original Soldier's Crest storyline, I would like to continue at some point. Are you sure you're still up to reading? Take a break if you need. I think I could handle this, and then I might just like wrap up the stream a little earlier than we did like the last couple of weeks. Mostly because I'm tired. My camera's following me. Mostly because I'm tired, not even so much like the reading. But we could see where this goes. I don't really remember. She's a great character. Thank you. She it was funny. Like when I would show people the first book, or like people that bought the first book, they all loved her character, and I loved her character too. But she wasn't meant to be like a major character, so she hardly appears in the first book. She has like one big like story arc within the book, but like she's hardly in it. She's literally, it's a 300 something page book, and she's only in like 2 or 3 chapters. Does the money still go to you on Amazon? It does. But it's like I don't get everything. It's like royalties. But like an ebook like this one, I get most of it. I get more than like I was getting from the books, which is ridiculous. Because the ebooks are like kind of weird like that. Like I guess the cheaper it is, because of the percentages, you get like a higher amount, I guess. But like a Soldier's Crest, you can only get through me now. So like, yeah, other than like the shipping I would have to pay to get it to you, I get that money. Yeah, ebook is digital. This story I don't have in physical form anywhere. I would have to like order it through Amazon. I don't know how much that costs. Yeah. Now, if I had physicals, I would just send you one, Mistral. You wouldn't have to pay for it. I'd just sign it and send it to you. But the this one's just an ebook though. The prequel for the main story, that one I have physical copies of, but only through me can you get the physical copy because they're not on Amazon anymore. The only things I have on Amazon are the ebook form of this, the ebook form of Codename Moa. That's what we should read. I would like to reread that on stream. I did this series called Masks of Ether, which was like the prerequisite to what Fantasy Distractions is now. Those characters I want to revisit at some point. They are really fun. I have so much in my back catalog. Like if we want to just do reading streams on Tuesdays, easy. Yeah, no problem, Mishra. I appreciate you showing interest in it. That means a lot to me. Let's see where this goes, and then oh, Kitty sent me something about honey drops on Discord. I got the little like honey cough drops. I just don't think I need them tonight. I feel okay tonight. It's more the nasally thing that's bothering me. My throat was like literally hurting me the last 2 weeks from reading and talking so much. This week it's not too bad. I genuinely enjoyed it and encourage you to continue it. That is the motivation that I definitely need these days. After I finish putting up the Fantasy Distraction stuff that I need to upload all the way to, that's going to take us to like May, and I got to write one story for that. Maybe we'll revisit these characters a bit more than I have in the last few years. When was this story from? Yeah, the last time I updated this was October 13th, 2022. But I think I've read this on stream before, so it's possible I just did like an edit. I don't know if there's a way to see like edit history or whatever. All right. Between the lands of Azuldra and the Balwal Empire was an abandoned shelter. I don't remember like any of this, even though we did read this on stream at some point. You're waiting for book 2? Yeah, I finished book 2. I just never released it anywhere. It's actually done. Like I literally finished that while I was waiting for my publisher to release the first one, and I did like half of the third book. So I'm super ahead. I'm super ahead on Soldier's Cross. That is not the Mirror one. This is all I have for the Mirror one. Mira is in the second book a lot more though. Okay. Chapter 1. Between the lands of Azuldra and the Balwal Empire was an abandoned shelter, once used to hold resources for both the Forest of the New Heaven and the Forest of the Barren. It had recently been the subject of much debate between the two armies it fell between. This name, Forest of the Barren, it was supposed to be like, haha, it's the wrong type of Barren, like on purpose. I hate this. I don't know why I did this. It needs to go away. If I rewrite it, that's gone. I'm just letting you know right now. It had recently been the subject of much debate between the two armies it fell between. The Forest of the New Heaven was a place bestowed upon humans after the Stragus to provide refuge as the world returned to normal living conditions. This shelter was used to hold supplies once the people of the forest were allowed to move out into Chroma. The Forest of the Barren was a barren wasteland with dead trees and nothing of value to the residents of Chroma. No resources to be garnered, and it unfortunately landed in an area that prevented Balwal from claiming the territory for profitable gain. The rules and stipulations of the division of the four armies had changed over the years, but the lazy king rebel of Balwal refused to send the resources there to take advantage of the space, so it remained as barren as the day it was first discovered. In the shelter, few reserves remained as the two armies tried to settle disputes over the land. King Arakai of Azuldra felt he owned the rights, due to the large portion of food and water the Azuldra Knights delivered to the shelter on a monthly basis to help the Forest of the New Heaven. King Rebel simply refused to give the property to King Arakai to be difficult. It appeared there was no other reason for his behavior other than to cause hardship for those involved. Thus, the Bawal Empire and Azuldra stood on the brink of war, and there was an uneasy tension surrounding both armies and the people who populated their territories. Confusion and an unwillingness to compromise left the shelter abandoned and the resources rotting, unused, and more importantly, to the thieves and bandits of Chroma, unattended. While Azuldra would often send knights to the shelter, their visits became few and far between before ceasing altogether. Bawal never sent anyone there as a representative, but an occasional scout was sent to ensure that Azuldra did not claim sole rights to the property there, enough to sway Azuldra not to station there in hopes to keep the peace. One night, a large group of bandits descended on the shelter from the hills just east of the shelter. Despite the fact that some of the food would have gone bad by now, the bandits assumed that there would still be valuable resources inside. If it was resources they couldn't use themselves, they could still sell them for profit to get what they needed, be it ale, food, or clothes. This particular group was led by an older man who had been a bandit and master thief on Chroma for years. In his own mind, he was a legend, but most people didn't even know who he was, an advantage in his line of work. As they approached the shelter, the aforementioned bandit raised his arm to freeze the others in their tracks. We entered the south side of the shelter. Take whatever you can carry and meet back on the east side. Torg, don't you think it would be better to meet at the north end? The response came from a young bandit named Darren. Though Torg was the leader due to his spirit, what's the name of the guy in Borderlands? Isn't he Torg? A really funny, Hulk Hogan sounding guy. Though Torg was the leader due to his experience, Darren had become his right-hand man. Darren was young, but more intelligent than the average bandit. Through planning and strategic placement of their men, he turned most awful outings into successes. I feel like there's got to be a twist here. This is too serious of a start for the story, I feel. I mean, I guess the last book about her started off pretty serious too, though. Mr. Torg. Yeah, I gotta change that too. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter, but... Is that where I got the name from, or did I think that was unique? Maybe I didn't play Borderlands at this point. That's impossible, because that's my last edit on this was 2022. Maybe it was just I didn't think of it at the time. Through planning and strategic placement of their men, he turned most awful outings into successes. His aggressiveness towards their agendas quickly gained him favor with Torg, and is the reason why he often stood beside him on these missions. Good observation, Torg replied. We'll follow Darren's gut and make our way through each part of the shelter and meet on the north end. Torg and Darren exchanged a nod. Then Torg pushed his arm forward and let his men lead the way inside the shelter. Once inside, they were surprised to see that majority of the supplies had been neatly packaged and left for the taking. Strange, said Darren. He walked over to one of the packages and inspected it. I thought this shelter was abandoned, stated Torg. It was. Perhaps members of Azuldra still drop off supplies here? Darren poked the package as if it would tell him what was inside. Do you think they just made a delivery and that's why everything is set up so nicely for us? Asked Torg. He too took his chance to inspect the packages. Either way, we're in here now. Darren shrugged and stared at Torg, hoping he would make the call based off of what he was thinking. He did. You're right. Torg turned to the other bandits. No sense running away now. Take whatever you can carry and let's press on. The bandits did as their leader commanded. In each part of the shelter, they found the same scenario. Neatly stacked packages with supplies and no signs of anyone there to unload, unpack, or organize them. This went on for three more sections of the shelter. The next spot would put them dead center and be a good point for Torg and Darren to decide how much more they could carry before heading to the northern side of the shelter. Torg entered the room first. This was the first spot of the shelter with no supplies, but that was fine with the bandits. They stockpiled what they were able to carry up to this point in the middle of the room. Take a quick break, Torg said as he put his arm up once again to stop his men in their tracks. These packages are heavier than they look. I'm getting tired, said one of the bandits. How much bigger is this place? About 4 more sections, I'd wager. There's Mira, because the R's are dragged out. About 4 more sections, I'd wager. The response did not come from Torg, but instead from another bandit beside the one who spoke. This bandit was short and struggled to get her arm up to lean on the bandit's shoulder. Red hair was visible through the cloth that covered her head, and 2 points stood out on the top. A black mask covered the mouth and nose of the person's face, but the green-yellow eyes were impossible to miss. Every few seconds, the bandit felt something brush against the back of his leg. We don't have any women in our group, Torg replied in a deep, angry tone. Aye, a sexist lot ye be, replied the masked bandit. Or any with tails. The bandit beside the masked bandit looked behind him to find a red cattail brushing against the back of his leg. The fact it took you this long to notice I joined your group 2 sections ago says a lot about the quality of your men. Mira removed the cloth from the top of her head and let her long red mane drop to her shoulders. She had matured quite a bit from the day Rapez presented her with a boat in Azuldra. She was taller, excuse me, she was taller, though still below average height, and was beginning to grow into her pirate attire that Nicolette helped her pick out. Maybe it's time to let some women join. Are you volunteering? Torg asked. Mira's beauty was undeniable, and a room full of bandits was surely going to notice her looks and body before anything else. To join your group? Mira laughed. The laugh was muffled by her mask, but still loud enough to be obnoxious. You're joking, right? I'm guessing you don't know who you're talking to, the bandit said. The bandit she was leaning on was the one who replied. This is an idiot? Mira interrupted. A buffoon? A dumb monkey? I don't know why she calls people idiots and stupid all the time. I'm the legendary bandit Torg, Torg proclaimed of himself, and I'm tired of these other bandits not knowing who I am. The legendary Torg? Mira blinked a few times as she stared at the bandits around her. She picked one randomly out of the group and pulled him close. Her hand barely covered the massive arm of the bandit, and his height rivaled that of Torg himself. Hey, before you joined this group, did you know who Torg was? No, replied the bandit, much to Torg's chagrin. I see. Mira went up on her tippy toes, obviously unable to see over Torg, but still yelled past him regardless. You there! A bandit shuffling through the packages stopped and looked up. His face told Mira that he was praying she wouldn't call on him. Any clue who Torg was before this? Don't answer her! Torg spun around to silence his men before they could respond. We don't have time for this. Yeah, I guess I don't need to buy Nicolette and Hawker more time than this, Mira. Mira reached to her waist and removed 2 daggers. You're outnumbered. Do you really think that's wise? Darren asked. The tall man Mira pulled over before removed his mask and hood as well, to reveal Rapez. I think she'll be just fine, he said. We should run, one of the bandits said as he backed away from the packages. Run? Are you kidding me? We don't run, Torg responded. Don't you know who that is? The bandit asked. That's Rapez. I was worried when I saw the cat. That's his right-hand cat or whatever. Woman. I still identify as a woman, Mira answered coldly. I was ahead of my time, too, because I had Mira identify herself. That's his right-hand woman, the bandit corrected himself. I've heard of them, Darren added. How come everyone has heard of them but me? Torg asked. Too busy thinking you're a legend yourself? Rapez replied. It doesn't matter. Your fame ends here. Torg pulled out a large mace, and the rest of his bandits grabbed weapons. Darren acted first and attacked Mira, but Rapez blocked the attack with his sword and knocked Darren to the ground. The size and strength difference between the two was astronomical. Meanwhile, Mira shot forward and sliced the side of Torg's neck before he could even react. She kneed him in the stomach at the same time and brought her elbow down on the back of his head. Torg was knocked unconscious immediately. Darren stood up before being thrown by Rapez and fell back with the rest of the bandits, some of which already ran away scared. We need to leave and live to fight another day, said Darren. What about Torg? One of the bandits asked. Leave him. Let's go. Darren led the way out of this section of the shelter, and the rest of the bandits followed. That was easy, Rapez said with a smile. That was fun, Mira added. There is no way they escape with what Nicolette and Hawker have prepared for them. This whole help others while stopping the bad guys thing is something I could get used to, Rapez added. Better than being runaways ourselves, Mira said. Milwake will be happy with the results, I'm sure. Happier if King Rebel gives him sole ownership of the shelter, Rapez said. If we need to provide more proof than this that this shelter deserves some real night station here, then I don't know what else to do. Sounds like a Zuldra's problem, not ours. Besides, if they need more proof, that means more money for us. Mira knelt down and opened one of the packages. There were bricks inside. I can't believe they didn't even try checking the fake ones. We got lucky the first two they checked were legit, Rupes laughed. Nitai and Pip didn't screw something up. That might be a first. Let's tie up the legendary bandit and see if Nicolette and Hawker need any help. Mira removed some rope from the back of her pants and began tying Torg's hands and feet. Rupes stopped her and put a hand on her cheek and kissed her on the lips. Ooh. What was that for? Mira smiled. A job well done, Rupes smiled back. We're getting good at this whole bandit hunting thing, Mira said with a sigh. Then why do you sound so depressed? Asked Rupes. He helped Mira tie up Torg. I'm just wondering where we go from here. Milwake says the boat may take a bit longer than we were originally told, so we're going to have to wait to become pirates. Mira stood up and Rupes did the same. She looked him in the eyes for answers, her green-yellow eyes staring back at him. We'll sail the sea soon enough. I'm sure we can find something on Chroma to keep us busy. Rupes walked over to the exit of the section they were in. Let's catch up with the others. We can talk about the future after the mission. When they reached the next section of the shelter, Nicolette and Hawker were waiting for them. Darren and the rest of the bandits were tied up and sitting on the floor. Well calculated, if I do say so myself, Nicolette said with a big smile. You and Ollie make a good team, Mira smiled. I already sent Nitai for Azuldra Knights to lock these bandits up, said Nicolette. We're getting good at this. That's what I was just telling Rupes, replied Mira. We should get back to Azuldra as fast as possible. As soon as Mira finished the words, multiple Azuldra Knights approached accompanied by Nitai and helped secure the bandits onto carriages to take them back to Azuldra. All done, boss, Nitai nodded as he leaned on a nearby crate. This is starting to get too easy. Indeed, Rupes rubbed his chin. I need you all to return to Azuldra with the Knights. Get our reward from Oliver. Mira and Hawker will remain here with me. Curious, Mira hopped up onto another crate and sat down. Her tail was hanging down behind her. That wasn't part of the original plan. What do you need us for? While discussing plans with Nicolette and Ollie, there was a mention of a nearby armory just outside of the Forest of the Baron. No one has used it in a long time, but I'm wondering if there's anything we could salvage from it. Like what? Does Oliver know about this? Nicolette intervened. I remember him mentioning the armory, but I don't recall him mentioning for us to go there. He didn't, but I think it could be a good opportunity for us to upgrade some of our own equipment, not for nothing. Rupes admired his blade. I don't think these are going to cut it much longer, no pun intended. Though pun appreciated, Nitai said with a smile. If we continue... What the heck? If we continue to run around Chroma taking whatever we want without permission, it makes... I was pretty funny back then, I guess. If we continue to run around Chroma taking whatever we want without permission, it makes this just as bad as the bandits we're trying to stop, said Nicolette. Relax, Rupes. Relax. Rupes put his hands up in defense. We're just going to take some stuff that no one even remembers. If Bawal cared, they would have salvaged some stuff from it already, right? Are you sure just the three of you are enough? Maybe there's a reason it's abandoned, added Nitai. With Mira and Hawker, there should be no problems, no matter what is hiding in there, said Rupes. We'll be fine. All right then, Nicolette shrugged. We'll take the bandits back to Azuldra and grab the reward. How long should we wait before sending help? Shouldn't be a need. We'll be back in Azuldra in 2 to 3 days. Rupes put his sword back in its sheath, then walked over to Mira. We'll stop at one of the local inns, then hit the armory tomorrow. Shouldn't take us too long to get there from here. We're pretty close. I'll go fetch Hawker for you, said Nitai. Be careful. Be careful, he added in Mira's general direction. Can't say I love the idea, but I also know better than to try to sway you. Nicolette gave Rupes a hug and then waited for Mira to hop off the crates she was sitting on to hug her as well. Good luck, she smiled, then left after Nitai. You know I have your back no matter what, Mira began. Sounds like there's more to that statement, Rupes replied. What's the real reason we're going to this armory? Mira's eyes were narrow, and Rupes felt like she would burn a hole through his face with her gaze. I'm not sure I understand what you're implying here. Rupes laughed and once again raised his arms in defense. I'm just trying to get us some better weapons. Mira tossed the cloth she was wearing on her face at him, then walked towards the exit of the shelter. I have a chapter 2 of this? There's only 2 pages left, so this might get cut off. I don't remember this at all, obviously. Like, you can tell when I'm reading it, I don't remember writing this. But apparently I did. I do like them recognizing Rupes and Mira more than Torg. The next day, Rapez, Hawker, and Mira found themselves standing just outside the armory Oliver told Rapez about. It looked more like a ruin than anything, with numerous destroyed building-like structures all around. There were areas of the structures that appeared darker than the others, but it was hard to tell from the distance they were standing at if the darkness was an entrance or just a part of the ruins covered by shade. Maybe we can get you a better bow, Rapez said. I like this one, replied the man of few words. I hope we find a cutlass, Mira yelled as she skipped down the small hill they were on and went toward the ruins. Hey, don't run ahead, Rapez shouted as he hurried down to match her pace. Hawker kept up with both of them easily. As the group approached the armory, spelled wrong, the armoy, they could hear noises inside. Hang on, Mira. Rapez grabbed her by her forearm to slow her down. Looks like it's not as abandoned as we thought. A knight of the Bawal Empire came staggering out of the ruins and fell to the ground. He was covered in cuts and bruises. Hawker ran over to him to see if he was all right, but noticed the man was no longer breathing. After a quick check of the pulse, Hawker shook his head at Rapez to signal the man was dead. Whatever is in there, we better prepare ourselves. Rapez grabbed his aforementioned dull sword and readied himself for a conflict. Mira grabbed her daggers and Hawker knocked his bow. Rapez led them in, Mira close by his side, and Hawker a slight distance to ensure he hits their enemies and not them. Once inside the room, there were torches set up so it was easy to see. 7 bandits wielding the weapons they found inside the armory were fighting members of the Bawal Empire. The bandits weren't like the bandits Mira and the group were used to fighting. Instead, they wore dark black clothing with light leather armor and black masks over their faces. Members of the Shade, said Mira. I see them. Rapez looked back to make sure Hawker was ready. The Bawal Knights are getting overwhelmed. Let's get in there. Another Bawal Knight got struck down right before Rapez joined the fray. The Shade member who just defeated that knight was immediately met with a sword swing from Rapez that split him open from the chest down. The next Shade member tried to slice Rapez with a dagger, but met the dagger of Mira head on. The 2 blades pushed against each other, but not for long as Mira used her other dagger to slice the bandit's throat. Hawker immediately dropped 3 of the Shade members with multiple arrows. Suddenly the numbers switched. Only 2 Shade members remained. Unfortunately, there was only 1 Bawal Knight left standing. This knight had very wide shoulders. That's all I have, but whenever I describe a Bawal Knight with wide shoulders, it's Wyglaff. So Wyglaff is actually was meant to be in the story, apparently. This is how him and Rapez become friends, I'm guessing. Is what I was going for. I honestly don't remember what I was going for. But that's it. That's all I have. And thank you, Mistral. Thank you. I gotta finish this, man. Rapez and Mira's backstory is so wild. Like, we didn't even get to like the nitty-gritty of their relationship. Thank you, Kitty. Thank you. I have a really funny story section in book 2 with Mira in it. But to explain like where we're at in the story, it's a little spoilery on book 1. But it's really funny. I don't know if you guys want to hear it. We demand more. I'm gonna have to write more for sure. I've been looking for a reason to revisit the Mira stories anyway, so now you guys are motivating me. Let me see if I could find this. I have like another I have another Mira side story that takes place after book 3 that I actually started writing and is also really, really fun. But that one's like mega spoilers. I feel like this one I could get away with spoilering. Yeah, I was like so ahead of the game when it came to Soldier's Crest. And then when I got published, it got like even more crazy because I was published and I knew like I would be able to release stuff later. Well, I thought I was going to be able to release stuff later, so I just started working on everything like tenfold. So I'm like very ahead. I'm just like technically I'm behind now, but if opportunity presents itself. I felt like I saw something flying. It was awkward. Need audiobook of book 1 now? It's not a bad idea. I'd be down to read book 1. It would take us like a year though. Now I get why they pushed your book to the I literally told the girl who owned it, I was like, I have content for years. So I think that's why they pushed me front too. Katsu loves audiobooks. That's good to know. I need to make some audiobooks. Even of the few ebooks that I have up, I need to make some. Where is the thing I'm thinking of? This is a very different Mira, actually. Like, she still got her charm, but the story. Okay, there's this character Marcus. I'm actually doing a fantasy distraction about Marcus coming up soon. Like 2 weeks from now, I think. Marcus has a lot of problems too. There's a story that Marcus tells Dessa. That was the one we showed the art of before. About how he met Tarjan, which is like the Spartacus guy that I mentioned earlier. Do you guys want me to read this with no context? This is book 2 stuff, but it's not like... It's not like super spoilery. Or do you guys not want me to read this? Do it? Okay, I'm not gonna complain? Okay. Alright, so I'm gonna give like very little context. Because book 1 is this is technically from book 2. So little context that you need is that Marcus is a traveling mercenary. Kind of similar to like the Synthro Rayo style of mercenary at this point in the book. So they don't really do like bad things necessarily. Like they kind of just like help people and save people if the money is right. But they're not against doing bad things. But at this point in the story, they're more good than bad, if that makes sense. They're still like a neutral party, but the Emperor has spoken. So Marcus is this like great sword wielding mercenary. Dessa is a girl that he found that like if it wasn't a post-apocalyptic setting, she would basically be like a model. Like she's gorgeous. But she fights with a bow staff. And then their third member is a girl named Celis, who Marcus saved from a insane asylum because she is supposedly possessed by a demon queen. And she has like pale features, like her skin is white, her hair is white, her eyes are white. And she's really like weird and scary. That's kind of all you need to know about their group. I don't think I've ever like read this or shown this to anybody. Yeah, so Celis is kind of an interesting character. But that's all you need to know. That isn't super important to this part of the story. But Marcus was fighting in a cage fight to make them some money. I think that's where we're at here. He was fighting in a cage fight. To make them some money. Actually, I'm gonna skip down a little bit. Okay, I'll just read from here. I don't think this is... This is pretty spoilery, actually. You know what? I'll just get to the Mira stuff. That is very spoilery now that I remember the context. But now you know who Marcus is, which is important to the Mira part. Okay. So they split up. Dessa and Celis go one way, and Marcus goes to a bar. He likes to drink a lot. His drink of choice is Behemoth Ale, it's called. Okay, so he says, I'll be at the bar if you need. They ran off before Marcus could finish his sentence. Damn, guess I'm flying solo here. Marcus made his way over to the nearest pub, a place called the Survival Kit. I like to name my pubs weird things. You'll learn that in all of my stories. But a place called the Survival Kit. He pushed open the doors and made his way to the counter. A petite barmaid greeted him with a smile. What can I get for you, handsome? Behemoth Ale. See? Behemoth Ale. Marcus turned his focus to a gathering in the back of the bar. Numerous shady individuals were circled around a woman in a hood. As soon as you entered the bar, we started losing our money. I don't think it's a coincidence, one of the men said, pushing the cloaked woman back toward the wall. I don't know what you be talking about, the woman answered, and keep your grubby hands off of me. One of the men pulled out a knife and the entire room fell silent. Give us back our belongings or I'll slit your throat right here. He pushed the knife to her throat and went to grab under her cloak, but his wrist was grabbed by Marcus. That's enough. The man pulled the knife back. The grip on his hand was sending pain through his arm. Hey, I don't want any trouble. I just want my money back. She said she didn't take it. His grip tightened. Or maybe you think my friend here is a liar. No need to call me your friend, love. The cloaked woman put a hand on Marcus's chest and pushed him out of the crowd. Sorry for the trouble, boys. I was simply awaiting the arrival of me husband. She's very like pirate speak in this part of the story. I was simply awaiting the arrival of me husband. Marcus started, but the woman lifted a finger to his lips. Shh. No need to be embarrassed, darling. She sniffed Marcus and licked his face. This is a thing that carried over from the Oliver thing, by the way. She sniffed Marcus and licked his face. What the hell? Marcus pulled his head back, disgusted. Go outside, she whispered as she continued to push him. Did you steal their stuff? He whispered back, wiping his face where she licked him. Hey, that's my pouch hanging out of your jacket, one of the men proclaimed. Huh? I didn't take this, I swear. The men began to argue. What's your name, lover? The woman asked as they made it out of the bar. We're not lovers, and you owe me a drink. She goes, I be Mira Stormwillow, captain of the Lone Lion. Marcus grabbed her wrist and pulled her close. I said you owe me a drink. I can't go back in there. Are you daft? You didn't steal anything. Why weren't she's still calling people dumb, by the way. I can't go back in there. Are you daft? You didn't steal anything. Why worry? I robbed them blind. I replaced some things just to get the heat off me back. I was able to get out with a lot more thanks to you. She shuffled through her clothes under her cloak for way longer than Marcus thought she should have, and pulled out a pouch of coins. She threw it at Marcus, who was forced to catch it. What's this? You're cut, lover. She rubbed her wrist now free of Marcus's grasp. You ever want to do more business together, let me know. That should cover your drink, unless you be more interested in other offerings. Mira smiled and turned to walk away, but crashed right into the black armor of Valak. She jingled as she hit the ground from all that she had stolen. Mira? Valak put out a hand to help her up. Mira shook off the pain from hitting his armor and took his hand. Ah, land dweller, good to know ye lived. Likewise. You have a tail? Asked Marcus, confused by everything. Aye, born and raised with the damn thing. It'd be a pain in the arse to sit. You... Funny. You know Marcus? Valak and Marcus were practically staring each other down, completely ignoring Mira between them. Apparently she knows you, Ocean Knight. Mira pushed them apart. Something you both need to tell me? She laughed. Now this be a sandwich I don't mind being between. It's actually really cool seeing all these characters encounter each other. Yeah, it's funny because it's like them encountering and interacting with each other came first, technically, because I wrote this before I wrote the Mira side story stuff. So it's like you guys are experiencing it like technically in timeline order, but in a different order than I wrote it in. So it's pretty funny. Something you both need to tell me, she laughed. Now this be a sandwich I don't mind being between. Marcus and Valak both stared at her. But sorry, Land Dweller, Marcus and I are married now. Are you serious? Valak replied. She didn't know my name until you just said it, answered Marcus. Oh, you're no fun, lover. She leaned against the wall of the pub. So how did you two meet? Marcus tried to kill me a few times. More importantly, how did you survive the shipwreck? Well, it'd be a long story, Mira began, but a loud commotion interrupted them. Anything past here? Anything past here, I think, gets a little more serious. And then it gets weird. It gets very serious, then it gets weird. Marcus is also a bit of a character. Not nearly on the scale of Mira, but there's some funny stuff that happens. He's kind of like Mira in the sense that like he has a lot of funny moments, but his character and his storyline and everything is super, super dark. So like he's a funny character at times, but he's also got like a really like dark storyline. I like that Mira's like, well, it'd be a long story, and then everyone just kind of ignores her because the commotion is going on. I think it's spoilery from book one, though, if I go further. I mean, it's already kind of spoilery, but... what other Mira stuff do I have? I have, like, a blurb. It's called Heroes of Chroma, the second book. Book 2 ideas, synopsis. Let me see if I have anything else with Mira in it that I'm forgetting. We'll just go all out on the Mira stuff, and then I'm going to sleep. Let me see if I have anything else. I wrote a fantasy distraction for her, actually. Oh, it's in Pirate Speak. I don't remember this. I wrote when I was writing the 300. Oh, it's written in Mira is the one talking. She's narrating it, I think. I'm sleepy too. Thank you for reading though. Tuesdays are my fave now. I appreciate that so much, Mistral. That honestly means like the world to me. That you enjoy listening to my nonsense. Oh, maybe it's not Mira talking. Oh, it is. It is. It's Mira later. Mira shows up. I want the book. Yeah, I mean, I could send you book 1 and the prequel. Way better than League of Legends, you ain't kidding. I actually just put like a little blurb by Mira on the bottom because I wanted to try to get somebody to voice her. She's the hardest one for me to find somebody to voice because she talks in pirate speak. She rolls her R's because she's a cat and because she's a pirate. And you know, like she's such an important character to me. So your birthday is next month. Do you use Discord at all, Mistral? You could just hit me up and tell me where to send it, and I'll send it to you. I'll sign them and send them. I don't think Kitty has the prequel. Yeah, her accent makes her unique. Yeah, so like I'm really picky about having somebody voice her because I want to do stuff with her in Fantasy Distractions. I've always wanted somebody to voice her, but it's finding someone to voice her that's the problem. Yeah, I don't think I had physical copies of the prequel when you ordered the first book. No, I had to have had those by then. Because I had already lost the publisher before I met you in Akatsu, I think. Those were dark times. Not meeting you two. We're losing my publisher. Meeting you two was great. What is this last blurb that I added? she just starts off with "Oi, oi." You think he could just show up unannounced to this little shindig and demand an audience with yours truly? If that's the case, then you really are dumber than you look. Why does she call everybody dumb? I didn't realize I do that so much with her. Okay. I'm just gonna friend you. Hopefully I sent that to the right person and didn't misspell it. I think I got it. I sent a friend request on Discord. Okay, cool. I just have to dig them out. I have to dig them out because they're still buried since we moved. But yeah, I can totally make that happen. I'm excited to have people interested. My writing has gotten a lot better though. So like when you read the first book, because like technically the first book came before like all the stuff I'm reading to you now. So it's like my writing has evolved quite a bit since then. You see out here in what we call parts unknown, the only boss ain't even me. It's the sea, and she be even more unpredictable than I am, and that's saying a lot. So turn that pretty little perfect jawline having arse around and don't let the door hit you on the way out. Oh, Mira. I don't remember writing the story for her though. Uh, yeah, I think that was it. Other than the stuff that's like, I mean, super spoilery that came out like after the fact. I just have a file that's called Repez. Oh, his bio. Okay. This is what I sent the girl who did the art. I have him listed as 20. 6'4". Occupation thief/pirate. Weapon sword. His art is enhanced senses. Sorry, I'm just checking if there's anything else. It does not look like it. Okay. Yeah, the Repez bio, I couldn't really read it on the image before, but it says, Repez was abandoned as a child and found his way to Wintermelt, a village in the Azuldra territories. It was here that he discovered his true calling. Repez was always bigger and stronger than the other kids he encountered, and as he grew, he began to be larger than most adults. This allowed him to secure an abandoned house in the back parts of Wintermelt, where he would offer shelter to other stray children. Soon he formed a group of misfits and outcasts that could stand up to bandits and thieves who threatened Wintermelt and his friends. A post-apocalyptic Robin Hood, Repez would steal from the bandits and give to those less fortunate around him. With the help of Nicolette, a young intelligent girl, that's her only description, Nicolette, a young intelligent girl, and a cat girl named Mira who had special fighting training, Repez would go on to change a large portion of Chroma's landscape. Unfortunately, Repez and his band of misfits would often operate behind the scenes, and the people of Chroma would not even realize what he had done for them before he left Chroma to become a pirate with his crew. In the events prior to the Griffin War, I guess that's what I'm calling that. In the events prior to the Griffin War, Repez vowed to protect those less fortunate children, who he would call his family, and waged war against a bandit organization known as the Shade. Yeah, he's a post-apocalyptic Robin Hood. Definitely keep up the good work. It's a good series. I really appreciate that, Vistral. Yeah, these characters, they definitely need to be fleshed out. In the meantime, while I work on stuff like that, I really wouldn't mind rereading Moa as well. I think Moa. I think you guys would really like Moa if we revisited it. Moa is like a it's more of like a detective. It's not very fantasy. Like it's got fantasy elements. It's more sci-fi than fantasy, but it's like a detective kind of story more than like pirates and ninjas and stuff. That'd be nice. I'll hear anything you want to read. Yeah, I'll line up some things from my back catalog that we can read on stream and have some fun with. All right, but I think that's gonna be it for me. I'm tired. Did a lot of reading. I went a lot longer than I thought I was gonna make it, to be honest. I was pretty exhausted before I went live. Okay, the description. I was avoiding reading the description that I sent Visenia, who did the art. Because I thought I saw something spoilery. But I put the good thing is I have ideas on what he would wear, but you can have some freedom here with the design. I originally pictured him with an open shirt, kind of like Aladdin, just more manly, ... question mark, LOL. I don't know why I described him like that. It's pretty funny, though. It literally says, I originally pictured him with an open shirt. In parentheses, it says, kind of like Aladdin, just more manly, ... question mark. Yeah, she did great. She did great. I think I had these made for the second ebook. Good thing I didn't read the whole thing, because I'm literally talking to her about stuff that happens at the end of the ebook. The second one. Like where it should go, rather. Not that I wrote it yet, but alright. Yeah, she did good. She did good. She made him nice and manly. He has a 10-pack. I'm jealous of his dead bag. I've only brought it up 3 or 4 times. All right. You forgot I had stuff on Amazon? Yeah, I have a few. I have the book we just read. I have Moa, and I released like the first 25 fantasy distractions as like a little ebook. Oh, that's what Genie says in the movie. I haven't seen Aladdin in a really long time. Tamo said I look like the guy who played Aladdin in the live action one. He told me that once on Instagram. I was like, okay. Alrighty, have a good night. Yeah, have a good night, Mistral. I'm also out of here. Kitty, have a great night. Everybody who's still lurking, have a good night. Appreciate you. Monster Ward's still here. Monster Ward, have a great night. It's true. Manly could be a lot of different things nowadays. People might think Aladdin's manly. I don't know what I was saying when I said that. I'm kind of built like Aladdin in the fact that I weigh 2 pounds. And he was kind of skinny. He just had baggy pants. Maybe I should just wear baggy pants. Okay, I'm clearly tired. Have a good night, everybody. I'll get you guys. I should be back tomorrow night, but it's supposed to be our like PS5 night. But I think we'll probably just play more Power World. I'm obsessed. It's an unhealthy obsession with Power World right now. But I'll see you guys tomorrow night for that. And okay, that's it. Goodbye. See you next time, Monster. Night, Kitty.